Welcome back to Kind of Funny's James Bond in Review, where we rank and review all of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. I'm Geddes, Tim Geddes. And let's go around clockwise, starting with Big Kev Doc to introduce yourself. Go for it, Kev. He's muted.
I'm Kay. I'm Kay.
Fantastic.
See, I'm taking the Q role.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's real good. That's real good.
And it works with the fucking up, you know?
Yep,
Plus,
yep. Next up,
But is that Andy?
it's you.
Oh, it's me.
Clocks.
I don't know where I'm at in your.
In a clock?
yeah,
We're
you are.
watching
Just
the-
look at the thing.
Oh, I
Watch
have to
the
watch. I turned the stream off. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
Good job. Good start.
It's all
Here
right,
we are.
Felix. It's all right.
Much money, penny.
That's good. Take us home, Andy.
Mrs. Moneypenny.
Great.
Wait, are you
God,
guys
you'll love to
Money
see
Penny
it.
or are you both M?
You know what? It doesn't matter. What
Or you
matters
just-
is we're back. We're finally here to end the era of Daniel Craig. This was the final in review series that we started in the studio, and then it transitioned to work from home. This was the first movie to get delayed, and it is crazy. But years later, we're here. We're about to do this because this is Kind of Funny in Review, where each and every week we rank and review two different movies in different movie franchises. We're about to close out Bond right now, and then just to give you a little bit of a tease over the next couple weeks, and also for the rest of the year, I'm going to give you the rundown because a lot of people have been asking questions, and it's finally locked in, everybody, and I'm very excited about our schedule. Next week, we're doing a double dose of Halloween with Halloween 2018 and then Halloween Kills. Then the week after that, we're going to go back to MCU in review and do What If. It's going to be a little later than normal because there's new movies coming out. We got to make room for them. So first up will be What If in review. And then later that week, we're doing it. You guys have been asking me. I'm getting a lot of tweets about it. We're going to rewatch every single Spider-Man movie leading into Spider-Way No Way Home, starting with the Raimi movies, then going into the web movies, then going into the MCU movies, all the way into December. Then the week after that, we're going to start Ghostbusters in review to lead into Afterlife. And the rest of the year, we'll just be returning into different franchises like Edgar Wright in review for Last Night in Soho, MCU in review for Eternals. And then the final new in review of the year will be Matrix in review, leading into Matrix Resurrections. Nick Scarpino, you had a question.
I was just gonna ask Andy if they say that a hero can save us.
I don't know what that means.
Spider-Man 2, baby.
Oh,
and they
that one
say
song,
that
yeah.
a hero can save. You know what, guys?
let's harmonize.
Shut it down. Start it over.
Yeah, yeah. Here's your one chance to get it back. Harmonize. Go for it.
And they say that a hero can save us. I'm not gonna know.
Stand
the
here
rest of the
waiting.
way.
Oh, boy.
That was tough.
That was
tough.
And we do it for you, everybody. You can watch it on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want to listen to it as a podcast, just search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny in Review, and we'll be right there for you with intros that honestly don't get much better than this, but also don't get much worse. So if
No,
you like
they're never worse.
consistency,
They're never worse.
you're in the right place. You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny if you want to get the show ad-free and watch it live as we record it, just like our Patreon producers get to do, Prank C and Molecule. Thank both of you so very, very much. Today we're brought to you by Stamps, but we'll tell you about that later. We have no time to waste to talk about No Time to Die. Runtime of 2 hours and 43 minutes. It was released after being delayed like 5 times on October 8th. 2021, making it the 25th James Bond title. That's pretty crazy. Really, really, really damn crazy, which I guess, thinking about it, is MCU the only franchise that has more entries than it?
Then Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not
yeah.
in review.
But what about the Ernest movies?
Yeah.
Ernest had at least
No, he
17
had, like-
that I remember.
I want to
20
say
movie
Ernest has
run.
like 7, right?
Mm.
I have no
I
idea.
remember 3. I stopped watching Ernest after Ernest goes to prison. I was like, well, I don't need this anymore in my life.
It was weird to just go back and look at our old videos of Bond in review and episode 1 Casino Royale. We are still in the studio on March 10th, 2020.
That was
And the
the
next following episode, which was Skyfall, I believe,
Quantum.
or
Quantum
Quantum of Solace. We are with our Logitech webcams just doing our best. just
Just
doing our
doing
best.
our
Yeah,
best.
that was a tough one.
But I will say, the Spectre one, we got a fun little background going on where we got the spirals of the gun barrel.
Right,
Pretty cool
right.
shit. Pretty cool shit. Go back and check it out. Also, this video is doing surprisingly well. Some of them are at like 80K. So thank you guys for showing all the love to
That's
James
great.
Bond in review. I got a lot of fun facts about this release here. The film will be Daniel Craig's 5th and final appearance as James Bond. It will also be Craig's 16th year in tenure as James Bond since his first in Casino Royale back in 2006. This will, by tenure, make Craig the longest running actor playing James Bond in the official series since Sir Roger Moore between the early 70s to mid 80s, which ran for 12 years between Live and Let Die and A View to Kill. By film count, Craig will come in third after Sean Connery with 6 and Roger Moore with 7, although Connery has 7 if the unofficial film Never Say Never Again is counted. Connery's tenure is the longest if one counts the period between Dr. No and Never Say Never Again. I'll bet with breaks totaling a whopping 21 years time span. This is the first James Bond movie to feature all the characters of Q, Felix Leiter, Miss Moneypenny, and M since License to Kill in 1989. So it's been 31 years. The theatrical release of this movie will mark the second longest hiatus in the official James Bond series. The interval between this picture and Spectre is 5 years and 11 months. The longest gap between Bond movies previously was 6 years and 5 months from License to Kill to GoldenEye. And then it got pretty average in the Craig era to be a 4-year gap between the movies, starting with Die Another Day, leading into his first movie of Casino Royale, and then continuing on from there. This one was directed by Cary Joji Fukunaga, best known as director and executive producer of what, Andy Cortez?
Season 1 of True Detective, one of television's finest seasons of television of all time. It won the Emmy for best season of a show.
He became the
Ever.
first director of Asian
Ever.
descent to win the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Directing for a Drama Series. The music in this one, kind of surprisingly to me, I didn't know this, done by Hans Zimmer.
Oh,
Composer-
really?
Oh, no
Composer
shit.
Hans Zimmer replaced director Cary Fukunaga's regular music composer Dan Romer during late 2019 due to creative differences. According to show business trade paper Variety, this picture marks the first time in the 58-year history of Bond films that a composer has been replaced during post-production. In March 2021, the movie's title song No Time to Die won the Grammy for Best Song Written for Visual Media, making it the first time that a Grammy has been awarded in this category for a film that was not yet released, and the third Bond song ever to win the Grammy for Best Original Song.
As soon as I see music by Hans Zimmer on the screen, I'm immediately listening out for it. And you have to watch it again with that sort of framing because it makes the experience, I think, a lot more enjoyable. And I just love his use of strings and just causing tension and momentum in a lot of his music. It reminded me a lot of, honestly, a lot of his Nolan movies soundtrack when they're trying to create that intensity. It's dun, 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 dun. Just it's so good, dude. He just has such a good way of like, it's his sound, and it made the experience a lot more enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I
he was
totally agree.
also- I was gonna say he was also using iconic 007 like sounds mixed into it, and it was
Oh,
like
dude,
that.
this was like just a journey through all of the last 5 movies, especially all those themes trickled in. He was having a great time with it, with just the James
Yeah.
Bond theme itself. And it's funny
So
because
cool.
that theme can stick out like a sore thumb sometimes in some of these movies. And I would have thought with a movie that was done with this much of a serious tone that it would have. But damn, dude, they just worked it in and interweaved it. It was yeah. The sound design as well was epic in this
Epic.
movie.
Absolutely epic. And we saw it in Dolby Atmos, so that just really added to it. But yeah, I love, like, Zimmer really came in, and what I appreciate so much is you get really great versions of the James Bond theme. You get to still hear, like Andy was talking about, that signature sound from Zimmer that you kind of expect that really kind of like moves the thing along. And I think that the score actually really helped with the runtime to kind of keep the whole thing feel like there was a momentum to it. But the coolest thing is how much it weaved in the old character themes that Nick was talking about over the previous couple movies, but also how well it utilized the score of Billie Eilish's No Time to Die song. Like that was kind of used as like the love theme in this movie. And I thought that was a really, really cool use of it, and getting the Zimmer treatment made it like a lot more epic.
The Zimmer treatment. I like that.
The budget of this was $250 million, but that was bumped up to $301 million because of multi-marketing false
Holy
starts.
shit.
So sad.
Yeah,
that
that's
sucks.
that's tough. It's tough. It hit a
'Cause
point
they
where it could not get delayed again. They were just like, we have hit a point that we know we're going to lose money if we have to delay it again based on how much marketing they put in. Because with Bond, the marketing isn't just billboards on the side of a bus. It's the partnerships with watches and partnerships with alcohol and all that stuff. And so that's
Cars
where
and
it,
all these things,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, but Bond has always been such an interesting kind of crossroad of product placement where even how many times they talk about it as a mega watch in this one, all that stuff.
It'll blow
But
your
yeah,
mind,
I
man.
mean, this is a big budget movie, huge movie, and I hope that they make money on it. I hope that it works out for them.
Well, it's looking pretty good, Nick, because they have already made $121 million currently. And that number is essentially because the movie's been out a couple weeks in other territories. So it's doing pretty well. And so it definitely it seems to be tracking high. So good for them. Definitely well deserved. What we're going to do here is give our thoughts on the movie. We'll start off with spoiler free for everybody that doesn't want to get spoiled and wants to go watch the movie this weekend. And then we'll make it very clear and we'll shift over into our spoiler filled thoughts, including a full recap of the plot by one Nick Scarpino.
Mhm.
Andy Cortez, I want to start with you.
Absolutely loved it. I wasn't sure what to expect going into it. I feel like a lot of this franchise for me throughout in review has been fairly hit or miss, where even if the movie has a lot of enjoyable moments and sort of cool action sequences, I still feel like there's always something to kind of pick at and say, "Oh, Fleet Week, oh, the angels are flying overhead." If you can hear them, God damn, they're so freaking loud. Okay, sorry about that. I feel like even if there's a movie that I have enjoyed, like I enjoyed Skyfall, and even through that, there are still little things you can pick apart and say, that wasn't super great, and I wasn't totally on board with that decision. This movie, I think, is the most complete for me overall, where from front to back, I am enjoying pretty much the whole damn thing. And I think a lot of it is due to the characterization of Bond. I think the humor sprinkled in there, like just enough, worked out super well for me. The action sequences were fantastic. The music going along with the action sequences. There are a lot of Mission Impossible type gadgetry stuff that had me just going like, hell yes, this is kind of what I want to see. I want to be impressed and go, damn, that shit's so clever. I really, really dug this movie. I enjoyed it a lot. And I'd say it's probably the first of all of these movies that I can say that I love.
Evan Coelho.
So I have not been a huge fan of the last four movies, and I went in this movie and I was really worried. I wasn't excited at all, and I want to say right away the action grabbed me. I was just like, man, this is fun, over the top, awesome stuff that we want to see from Bond, and then like the story really grabbed onto me too. I think with confidence, like, man, blew me away. The time flew by. It was, I mean, nearly 3 hours long is a lot, but I think that the way they paced it, I was just having a blast the whole time, and I'm shocked by that.
Nick Scarpino, the biggest James Bond fan I know. What'd you think of No Time to Die?
I loved it. I thought it was really good. I think it's like a greatest hits of all the movies that came before it. And walking out of the theater, it's one of those things where I'm like, this was an interesting accomplishment. I apologize, the jets are going over my head now. It really is a 5-movie arc for this story, and having this be Daniel Craig's last one, I was very much hoping that it would be befitting of all the time and effort that's been put into the prior movies. We've had a couple misfires. People don't like Quantum that much. A lot of people are super confused as to how the Aston Martin got the guns in Skyfall, but nonetheless, I think they really finished strong with this, and I think it's it's a nice, like, hey, Danny, good job. This is a good one to say bon voyage to Daniel Craig as Bond and kind of usher us into the new era. And I think that's what they really needed to do. I'm very impressed by the direction of it. The action was great. I found myself kind of torn between wanting to see the action sequences and really kind of invested in the storylines and the character arcs, which is great. And I want to give a special shout out to the sort of tone of the movie, which is a lot more serious than the movies that came before. They took this thing they took it to a cool level. And also, just I'm saying it right now. Shout out to Anna de Armas, who, in my opinion, stole the show.
Roll the show. Yeah, I mean, I am totally in agreement with all of you. Absolutely loved this movie. I think that it is, Nick, you call it an accomplishment. That's a really good word. I think that its greatest accomplishment is similar kind of to Andy and Kev, was going into this like, I don't really know what we're getting from this. Like, it felt like the end of an era stuff just came in the last minute marketing. And I was like, I don't know that that fits right with the previous movies we've seen. Like, we've seen him retire like a bunch of times. Like, what are they going to do? And especially with that runtime, I was like, I'm not sure like if that is going to work, because with Bond movies, the last couple, there's some convoluted plot points. There's a lot going on. It's kind of hard to follow who's who sometimes with all of the elements. And I was like, a longer runtime is probably just going to allow them to have more complicated things. And they didn't do that at all. They kept this one very simple. There's a story that you can follow along. Everything makes sense. They got all the characters involved that we've known before, and working together in ways that are either predictable for us, so like we don't need too much setup, because we have the understanding on how to like learn their language essentially. And then when there'd be like fun twists, they're well set up, and the setup and payoff is all there. The runtime was so much a benefit to the storytelling and character development, because they allowed themselves to just have characters talk to each other before getting to the crazy action scene that then was even better because we understood the stakes even more. I feel like the direction of this was real next level, and simply the best direction of the Daniel Craig Bond movies, and honestly probably of any of the Bond movies that I've seen at least. But yeah, I was totally enthralled the entire way through. For an action spy movie like this to keep me engaged for 2 hours and 45 minutes is the greatest accomplishment it possibly could have had. I do think there are some moments that aren't necessarily earned, but they're very cool. And I think that they're earned enough for me to be like, you know what? Everything else was done so well that like I'm totally fine with it. And Nick, you saying the greatest hits thing, like, yeah, this really does feel like the greatest hits of the last couple Craig Bond movies. I don't think that there's any like one scene that hits the highs of some of the scenes that we've had in the previous entries, but I don't think it needed to, because I think there was just so consistently quality throughout that by the end of it, I was just like, damn. Like, I had that feeling of appreciation for Daniel Craig, where it's like, thank you for these movies. Thank you for what you did for the last couple decades.
And you know, there's and you know, in a lot of ways, you had to wrap up a lot of storylines, and it didn't really occur to me until walking out of that theater that I was like, oh crap. I mean, there's like the full military about me. It didn't really occur to me. I was like, wow. I mean, this is really like the fifth entry into a 5-movie series that all ties in together, right? Because Spectre, I just kind of blocked out of my brain. Not that it was a bad movie; it was just kind of boring. But that was like Blofeld's. That was sort of the rise of Spectre and Blofeld, and so to have to sort of tie all those in, all the way going back to Casino Royale and some of the stuff that happened there is no small feat. And the fact that they did that, and they were like, you know, screw it, we're going to give it 2 hours and 45 minutes. We're going to give these characters their due. We're going to give Daniel Craig his time, and you know, get some more with Moneypenny, get some more with Q, get some more with Ray Fiennes' character, who who I absolutely love as well. It was just really nice to see them kind of treat it that way, and treat it with that respect.
Andy Cortez, I'm gonna let it be known right now that from here on out we are switching to spoiler-filled conversation, because we've all laid our piece spoiler-free. Is that fair?
Yes.
I'll
Cool.
allow it.
Now,
This next-
spoiler time. Andy, go for it.
This isn't even spoiler. I just wanted to point out that I feel like I've been I've been spoiled by being able to watch these newer movies at home, because the last couple movies that we watch in theaters, I've had trouble understanding what some of the characters are saying, and I think I just miss subtitles. I'll that's like my non-spoilery thing to say here, is that I've been spoiled by being able to watch new movies at home on HBO Max with subtitles, because some of the English accents in here can get a little bit lost on me. The same thing with Venom last week, where it's just a product of what's happening on screen with the loudness of the theater, and yeah, that's just what I wanted to say about that. And that's all I have to say. Great episode, everybody.
There we go. Nick, last night when the movie ended, you were talking to me and you said something that really kind of puts it all into perspective. It's kind of cool how the 5 movies work, where Casino Royale and Quantum kind of seem like directly connected. Skyfall's kind of the bridge, and then Spectre and this kind of are telling a story that is also working to tell a overall story. And it's like, damn, they really did that shit.
It's fascinating. I kind of want to go back and watch Spectre first and then go into this. I mean, it's a very long movie, but I like that they had those threads going throughout. Um, it really works, and it actually ends up by the end of it, you're like, wow, I really feel for these characters. Even the Madeline character, who, I honestly thought was like, hey, we're not going to get back to that. I mean, she's a huge part of this one, obviously, and it kind of feels like, okay, that's an interesting thread to pick up from that. Again, it's not that this movie. I have some minor criticisms of
Oh
this,
yeah.
for sure. But one of the things I wanted to bring up early on, so you guys understand the sort of significance of it, was, are you guys, you're probably not familiar, but when they start talking about all the time in the world, does that resonate with you guys at all? That line?
Mm-mm.
So
No.
they're driving in the very beginning of the movie, and she's like, "Can we speed up?" And he goes, "We have all the time in the world." And for my first thought was, "Fuck, one of them's gonna," because in Her Majesty's Secret Service, Bond gets married, and
Your
right
voice
at the
cut
end
off
of
a
it,
little bit.
oh, at the
Die.
end of Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is an old Bond movie starring George Lazenby, was the only one he had done. The Bond character retires and gets married, and as they're driving on their honeymoon, he says, "We've got all." They're joking about having all the time in the world, and then she dies. She gets killed, and he holds her in his arms at the end of the movie, and he's like, "We have all the time in the world," and it's very, very sad. So the second that Lee Seido's character said that, I was like, "Oh shit!" I thought she was gonna die. I was not expecting sort of how we were going to end this bad boy. Yeah.
If we can talk for a minute about how this movie ends, because like now that we're in spoilers, like holy shit, what a definitive way to be like, hey,
I'm not doing it again. I'm
yeah,
done.
well, yeah, I mean, but one, he's like, choosing to die to like protect the people that he loves the most. But then the fact that we see him like fully explode, right?
Yeah. Like, hey, by
that
the
was,
way, no doubt, he's not falling into the
Still
water this
confirmed.
time and coming back. If
Yep.
drinking Heinekens in Mexico, he is dead as doornails.
Yeah.
I didn't love that. I think my criticism of the movie, or my minor criticism of it, is that by the end, I was like, I don't really care about what's going on with Rami Malek's character. I don't care. And him scratching him with the virus, I was like, like we didn't. I know that we need this to be definitive, but I'm part of me is like, why couldn't you just let him retire and have a family and a daughter? Like, I don't understand why that couldn't be something that we could do for him. But I guess they're worried in audience's minds that people will clamor for Daniel Craig to come back. Maybe he pushed for it. I don't know. Maybe he was just like, I really don't want to do this ever again. Let's put a definitive pin in it. Let's have him die. But I just feel like the third act of the movie is kind of where we're starting to drag for me a little bit, where I'm like, how many times are we going to run back and forth through this farm before I'm like, I don't fucking care about this MacGuffin anymore. And then they keep cutting back and forth to Moneypenny and M in the room. They're like, oh, we're still going. Where is he? I don't know. But I mean, again, that's a minor criticism of the rest of the movie, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah,
I
the death-
really,
Go
I
for
was
it,
just
Evan.
gonna say I really enjoyed that sort of those final sequences. Rami Malek's character, I loved the characterization of it. I love the way it was acted. I just didn't really care about much of what he wanted to do. It didn't feel it felt so secondary to what the main story was, even though it
Yeah.
was the main story. Like,
Yeah.
it felt like kind of just a side plot thing that you were kind of always like, oh, remember what Rami's doing, but don't,
Mhm.
it's whatever. I feel like I wish it just had more importance in the overall thing. I wish it felt more important, even though it was the main cause of all of it. Um, but I kind of dug the way that they killed him off. I really I enjoyed it. I think it was I love seeing dudes die.
Love it.
I just love the way it was kind of orchestrated and planned out. The couple things I didn't love were after the fact how quickly it all kind of wraps up and all right, Taban, yeah, Taban,
Right.
and then get back to work. And then it felt kind of odd the way they sort of paced and framed those last few sequences. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool and a beautiful death. I thought. I wish we didn't see the explosion happen in front of him. I wish it was just like missiles are coming down. We cut to Lee Sado or Lee Sado. How do you pronounce her name?
Leah Seido, I think.
Leah
I'm gonna
Sado.
look it up. I'm gonna look it up.
I just wish it had cut to her perspective, seeing the explosions from her side of it. Um, but I thought it was beautiful. It reminded me of Bruce Willis in Armageddon. Everybody, spoilers.
Yeah, I
One.
liked the death. I like that he
Mhm.
died. I kind of agree with some of the sentiments here. Just like the way it kind of happens and the way it got there is like not the cleanest thing in the movie. And I just think that the villain as a whole in this movie is definitely the weakest part. And if he's the weakest part, hey, this is a pretty damn good movie because like he was still scary as shit. That opening scene with him was
That was a
utterly
great
incredible.
scene.
It felt more like a horror movie, like a good horror movie than a James Bond movie. Full spoiler talk. My first disappointment in the movie came with the first shot, which is we get the circles and he does the iconic James Bond thing, like shooting the camera thing. And I was like, oh, I like it more when it's kind of like part of the movie, like integrated a little bit. And then way later at the end, when we
Oh.
get the like one shot of him going through and he
Oh
goes
my
down the
God.
hallway and does it in the movie,
Yes.
I lost my shit and I was like,
Yeah.
holy
There was-
crap. You just took that disappointment I had and flipped it on its head and
Yeah.
made one of the most incredible like hype moments that I've seen in Bond.
Carrie Fukunaga like popped in and was like, "What do you think about that, Tim? How do you think about
Yeah,
that?"
I was like, thank you, Carrie. Thank you so
So-
much.
Yeah, there was. Kevin, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, but I was gonna take it another topic. So if you want to keep talking about
Oh,
this.
yeah, I was just gonna talk about hype
wanna say
moments. Like,
too.
so that moment was great for me, but the moment that I was like, the intro of this film, which is like 30 minutes long or however long it was, you know, traditionally you have maybe what a 5 to 10 minute long scene that's generally pretty action oriented. Of course, in Casino Royale, we have the moment where he has to go do his final kill, and then we have that intercut black and white with him beating the shit out of the guy in the bathroom, and then it ends with that shot. Right, this one just goes on and on and on, and then it's like gut wrenching where he's like, "You're never gonna see me again," and the train pulls away, and right when like as it pulls away and she's running, and looks over, and then she can't see him anymore, and then the little dots start coming in. I was like,
Oh.
that is
Mhm.
perfect.
It was amazing. Nick.
perfectly
Like
done,
I
and it's so retro and so old school, and what a nice homage! Like just the dots coming in, very nice. It made me feel like I was watching a Bond movie from the early '60s, '70s, things like that. And then of course we go into the more modern graphics, which I thought the scene was amazing.
It was chill. It was chill worthy. The whole sort of transition into it. You're absolutely right. And what I needed was Tim or just someone in theater to be like, "Woo, come on, baby!" Because it felt awesome, man. It was hype as shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's Leah Seydoux.
Leah
That's how we
Seydoux.
say it. Leah
Okay.
Seydoux.
Real quick, just to finish to couple what I was saying about the disappointment turning into hype. Another moment I had like that was when at some point he was like, "My name's James," and like he didn't do the line, and I was like, "They're gonna come back somehow with it."
Oh,
I
it
did
was
not
the teller,
expect
right?
them to do it how they did it at the end, which was fucking beautiful and honestly made me tear up. But having her talking to the kid and saying, "Oh, let me tell you about your dad. His name was Bond, James Bond." Are you fucking kidding me? He had to die so that moment could happen because it was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, that little kid was good casting too. She
Yeah.
was
Totally.
adorable.
Yeah, she nailed it.
Yeah, I
Go
think.
for it. Hold on. Kev was trying to say
Go
something.
for it.
Oh, so I was just gonna say hype moments, like there, or like powerful moments. There was the right before, there was a point where we were talking to Felix and he's on the boat,
Mhm.
and I just thought to myself, man, this guy is such good casting for this character. He's so charismatic, and it's like the next shot, he gets shot in the stomach,
Mhm.
and like right away I was like, oh, like
It
that's
makes-
the end. Like
It
he's
makes
gonna
you
die.
wonder, what if
What?
if he hadn't gotten shot? Sorry, Kevin.
That was good.
No,
was
no,
not-
yeah,
that was
yeah,
good.
no,
It was
no,
not
that
worth
was
it.
good. But it was one of those moments where it's like I've always enjoyed the Felix character, but something about this movie, like the moments that he had, I thought really just nailed that character. And then to see him die and the way he dies, just another like
That's sad.
beautiful ending to
Yeah.
relationships. Andy?
Kevin and I had a lot of great, just sort of like back and forth talking to each other moments. And at one point, Kevin leans over and goes, "Man, it's a lot like Fox die." It's like, yeah, it
dude.
is.
Yeah.
And then later on, they go, "Oh, those are nano robots or
And the three of us-
nanobots."
The three of us go.
Nano
I was like,
machines.
what are you laughing at? I was like, why are you guys
Oh, it's
laughing at
hella
that?
so
funny.
fucking funny, man. Like, cause
That's
yeah,
funny.
we all were feeling the same thing of just like this is Metal Gear. Yeah, it's definitely Metal Gear. And then for it to be that on the nose, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's fucking cool as hell.
Let me
Nano
ask you
machines, huh?
guys. How did you feel about the crazy German or Russian scientist guy that kept explaining everything that was going on to the audience?
Dude, I always love the Pierce Brosnan movies. They like at least what's the one with. I feel like there was the crazy guy that would always yell.
GoldenEye. It was like, I'm invincible. Yeah.
Yes, and it just reminded me so much of that character, So I was very much in where I love having the stupid scientist that is way over the top. Also, I really like. Huh?
I was gonna say I liked him 50-50. There were some times where I'm like, I understand you're putting this character in this to kind of explain what's happening to the audience. But at one point he dipped into the Mathis character where he's like, they're going to the flop right now. And it's like, Mathis, you don't have to explain how poker works. Like either you get it or you don't get it, right? But I ultimately I was like, all right, it came around. It was just the right amount of like silly humor that I think it worked, except for his death. I felt like was a little bit weird because he just like was turned into a super racist all of a sudden, and then 007's like, "Fuck it," just kicks him into the acid. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that was fast. We could have
That-
ramped that up a little bit."
That seemed like it came out of nowhere, and but then
They were
he
just like, "We
also
got to get rid
got
of this character somehow."
he got a death very similar to the Invincible guy, where he
Yeah.
just the liquid nitrogen thing.
Yeah,
I also really like that we got like a crazy henchman with a cool nickname again with Cyclops.
Cyclops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least I guess that wasn't his nickname. That's just
no,
what
it was in the credits.
Oh, was it?
Cyclops. It was his name, and then in parentheses, Cyclops. So
Awesome.
he's
yeah,
now going to be
but I
known as
think-
Cyclops.
I think that was 007 just being a dick.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh,
anyways,
yeah.
I enjoyed that. I liked the little gimmick that they had with him and the one eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought all that stuff was all that. It was just enough gadgetry and Bondness to keep me like this is a Bond movie. Because I think very easily they could have strayed more into like darker territory, and I think the tone could have shifted more into like a True Detective very easily. I mean, it starts off if you saw this movie, the beginning of this, and as an HBO show and and it wasn't a Bond movie, it could very easily be a True Detective style like thriller show from just the beginning, that first scene, right?
Those jump
And
scares.
It was
Yeah.
scary as shit. And Remy Malek's character, that mask that he wears, just the hauntingness of everything being like Snow White was just not Snow White, sorry, white as snow rather is what I meant. Like everything just
Yeah.
it was intense.
I was gonna say we gotta add a bit more white hair or just age him up a little more.
That was the
'cause
thing too. I was like,
how old
he's the
were you
same
back
age
then?
yeah, come on. Like,
Were you 12 back then? And now you're
Yeah.
like 40
I mean,
something. What the
in
hell?
the photos, he is very young. So I do think it happened when he was very, very young.
so
right?
did he wait 15 years and then come
He's got to get good
Mr.
at
White
killing. You got to
that
get
was
good
a
at
weird.
killing.
So here's my thing: is like, I think Remy did a great job, but this character was very close in my brain to Javier Bardem's character in Skyfall. So much so that I wish that they had just had this been Javier Bardem, because I think that would have made more sense to me of him like being a little bit more of like Bond's contemporary. Not to say that Remy Malek didn't do a great job in the scenes that he were absolutely captivating to me, but it did read to me like he's like 25 years old doing this, and it just wasn't. It was a little bit weird for me,
Yeah.
especially in the beginning where I'm like, wait, how's this aging working up? Like, is he?
It's
Because he
it's
should be
definitely-
like in his 40s in this, right?
It's definitely the most disappointing of the villains, I feel, because of the potential. Because I think, again, the acting and the line delivery and the presence that he had on screen, I think is one of the best villains we've had. I just wish that the writing and sort of, plot had.
Yeah.
I wish they'd utilize them a bit better and in a bit smarter, in smarter ways. Because I think he
Yeah.
could have been like the perfect villain. I loved what you're right. I loved when he was on screen. It was captivating, dude. I just love his line delivery.
Good,
But
yeah.
again, they just didn't give him a whole lot interesting to do, unfortunately.
And I think that in my opinion, I think the Javier Bardem, the Silva M relationship was what really made that for me, right? It was like a mother, estranged son, twisted, fucked up relationship, and obviously, like, and this is no disrespect to the Madeline character, but she hasn't been with us for 5 movies, whereas Judi Dench's character was, and she's near and dear to the heart of every Bond fan, and so seeing her be in jeopardy and her being sort of the impetus for this person's like crazy twisted revenge plot, I think hit a little bit more close to home and maybe gave Javier Bardem a little bit more to go off of from the characterization. And also his I think his MacGuffin was a little, can't remember the heck. I think he was a computer guy, right? That's a little bit more
Yeah,
believable
super
than
hacker.
nanobots that kill you based on your DNA. That seemed
Cool,
so just
though.
it's cool as shit. Don't get me
So
wrong.
fucking
And it's
cool.
not outside of the realm of Bond, right? This is a series that traditionally has had like invisible cars and shit. So I'm not saying
Yeah.
the science can't exist, but this movie felt very grounded. And so when we dipped into that, I felt like they needed to have the characters over explain why this can work. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, all right, it's fine.
It's so funny because we're so like there's a good chunk of the company right now, specifically what Andy, me, and Barrett, we just played Metal Gear.
Yeah.
And like this is a major component in Metal Gear. The Fox die, which is a virus that is tied to DNA and goes
Cool name.
after specific people. It's such a cool name.
So, real quick, before we get to the plot, I wanted to say two things about the tone of the seriousness versus the kind of like campiness of some James Bond things. I think this movie definitely has the best balance of any of them so far, where the scene where we're kind of first introduced to this Fox die type thing of him being there, and it's like at the man of the hour, Bond, and the light goes on him, everyone's looking at him, and it starts raining down. Like I was so enthralled with what was going on, where I was like, how is this going to work? How are they going to explain this? Why is it killing only some people and not others? And then when it's like revealed, like, oh, it's tied to the DNA and that's all of Spectre is now killed. I'm like, holy shit, that ramped up so quick, but it's so fucking cool.
So,
then in terms of the gimmicky or like the gadgets and stuff, I think they played with it and made it serious, where it's like, cool, it's doing this like old school campy James Bond thing of like the car with the gun turrets and all that stuff. But the way they had the shot of James not trusting her sitting next to him, the car, everyone's shooting at her towards the window, and the window's it's a gadget. It's like this unbreakable car, but we're seeing it break, and Bond doesn't give a fuck because he's just like trying to break her.
Himself, yeah.
And I'm like, that is so cool because it like grounds this super goofy thing into the world, and I really appreciate that. I thought it was well done.
I just feel like the idea behind the nanobots being like, hey, this is unstoppable and you can never turn them off. That to me is always kind of like you're painting yourself into a bit of a corner, right? Because we also have like technology here where you can drop a little fucking Alexa unit off and like 3D map an environment. I'm like, really? Q can't figure out how to fucking go in there. What's that?
I was saying sonar, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, like a bat. No, Mr. Fox, like a X-ray machine. I can't remember what the name was. I'm sorry, Eddie. I feel it. But so I'm like, oh, that's a little far fetched, right? So when we get to the end, when he's supposed to be making this grand sacrifice, I'm like, really? You don't think you're not going to give it another couple days to see if Q can figure that one out? Like,
but the reality is the sacrifice wasn't to save her. The sacrifice was to open the gates. Like there was no way he was shot in the leg. There was no way he was going to be able to make it off. Like he was on the top of this giant tower. I know that they set it up and made it look like, oh, he's killing himself so that he can, like he won't get her to die and kill his daughter. But the reality is he sacrificed himself to open the gates so this virus never went out.
Yeah, then he had to go back, and it's arguable that he wouldn't have time to get out of there. But I mean, James Bond, for Christ's sake. The dude fell from a train. He got shot twice in the chest, fell from a train, went down a waterfall, and still lived.
It's all good.
He could have jumped off that. He could have
but like
jumped
that,
off
but
the dolphins in the water helped him. They helped him.
Exactly.
Yep.
Before we go into the plot, give me 2 seconds. There's two things that I want to bring up. Damn it, and I've forgotten the first one, so we'll just move on to the second one, which is one thing that I didn't like, and I understand why they did it, is the 007 giving the title back to him for this final mission. And I get that that's like a retirement, like, oh yeah, he's back for one more game so he can retire in our thing. But I just felt like it was so cool that they were like, hey man, the name has moved, or the 007 title has moved on. That was awesome. And it just felt a little weak for them to be like, all right, we're going to reinstate you as a 007.
No.
And
couldn't disagree more, Kev.
I feel you, Kev, but and first off, shout out to Lashana Lynch. She fucking did a great job in here. The first time we see her, I was like, that is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. Like, what a great way to introduce a character. She just walks through that club with those dope ass glasses on that are like reflecting all of the neon lights and the heat of the club, and she just looks at him for a second, doesn't say anything, and you might, like, if you blink, you might miss it. You might not see her, and then of course her being in like undercover and all that shit, fucking great, right? Yeah. I love it because what it tells everyone is we get it, right? Like, it's a sign of respect. She's the younger agent. She's trying to show him up the entire time. When they finally start working together, she's like, I'm going to show this, like, this historic agent his a little bit of respect, give him back the title for just this one last time. I thought that was really cool. Although I was like, I don't know. I love that. I love the setup of her being the new 007. I think that is so fucking cool. And what a great starting point of being like, dude, you retired, you left, you've been left behind. The newer classes come up. She's a badass. Deal with it.
Also, the comedic moments that they built
Oh,
up
fucking
with
great.
those
They had
were
good
so
chemistry.
good every time. Like, and what's his designation?
Dude, Daniel Craig has great chemistry with everybody.
Mhm.
He did great. He did great. I love that, by the way. And, you know, obviously, like, goes without saying, but I like that there was no romantic thing going on between
Yeah.
him and Anna de Armas or him and Lashana Lynch. They kept him true to like him being in love with the Madeline character. I thought that was good, and I think that just opens up more room for them to have more of a camaraderie between all the agents. And like, dude, again, before we shout out to Anna de Armas' character. I want to know more about this agent.
Yeah,
who's just like,
so
I've been on the job
cool.
for 3 weeks, and then starts fucking high kicking motherfuckers with an MP7
3
in
weeks,
their hand.
huh?
And I was like, he's like 3, just like give or take. I was like, dude, what a great. Just get in, destroy the scene, get the fuck out. Go have a Starbucks.
I fucking loved it. Oh yeah, damn, I loved it a lot. So to talk about that a little bit more, I really appreciate how she kind of doesn't come back. I like that she just had her moment and kind of subverts expectations that we have of what a Bond girl is. I think she was simply incredible. Every single shot of her on screen was magical. I love how kind of nervous she played and like her like
Not
drinking
nervous at all,
the no, not it was just so damn good. But
all a red herring. I love it.
before we get to the plot, let me tell you about our sponsors.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Stamps.com. If you've got a small business, you know there's nothing more valuable than your time, so stop wasting it on trips to the post office. Stamps.com makes it easy to mail and ship right from your computer. Save time and money with Stamps.com. Send letters and packages for less with discounted rates from USPS, UPS, and more. Joey uses Stamps.com all the time for all of our Patreon fulfillment, and she swears by it. Stamps.com brings the service of the U.S. Postal Service and USPS shipping right to your computer. Whether you're in an office sending invoices, a side hustle, Etsy shop, or a full-blown warehouse shipping out orders, Stamps.com will make your life easier. All you need is a computer and a standard printer. No special supply or equipment. Save time and money with Stamps.com. There's no risk, and with my promo code KINDAFUNNY, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitment or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Kinda Funny. That's Stamps.com with the promo code Kinda Funny. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
And now, Andy, kick it.
The name is Plot. James Plot.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off the plot to No Time to Die, the final of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. We have all the time in the world. Of course, we start off in Norway. I want to say this is where I tried to go to the bathroom. By the way, when they went back to the scene, and I went and I refilled my sodas, came back. The line of the bathroom was so long. I was like, now I have a choice to make, Kevin. It's been an hour and a half. I've had to pee so badly. Do I just go back in that theater and ride lightning? And it was the wrong choice because from that part out, I was like, I'm riveted by this.
I'm stuck here.
I almost just peed myself. Anyway, we start with a young Madeline Swan witnessing the murder of her mother. This is that haunting imagery of
That was Norway, I think.
Was it Norway? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is his character's name? Dang it. I'm gonna have to look it up. But Remy Malek,
Mr.
I'll just call him Remy Malek.
Oh,
Mr. Something or other. Anyway, coming out, of course, avenging the death of his family by the hands of Mr. White, who I kept. I've seen these movies a bunch of times. I kept thinking Blofeld was her dad. I was like, they let her be with her dad. I'm like, no, he's not her dad. He's just the guy that tried to kill her. Mr. White is her dad. He died in the last one, right? Yes. No.
Yeah, I had to. You better believe I watched some recaps.
That's smart. That's smart. Anyway, brutal scene where the mom is clearly having a difficult time dealing with the fact that her husband is a murderer. And then Rami Malek comes in and just straight up guns her down. And then for some reason just decides to save Madeline underneath the ice. And then, of course, is sort of connected to her throughout the years. And then
What a great transition, though.
Safin is his name, excuse me.
Yeah.
Of her under the ice, which under ice scenes are always scary. We even got
Terrifying.
one in Skyfall, right? I think.
Yes, Skyfall.
there's
where
that
he,
action
he had to
scene,
go
yeah.
down and get the guy's gun. And like he used the little flare and shit to figure out where the hell the hole was.
What an
What's
accurate shooter. Didn't hit her once.
Yeah. Like I like you see her under the water, the bullets are flying around her. The cut though between her being a little kid under the ice, popping up and it cutting to the time jump of her with Bond. I was like, oh, this is hype. Let's go.
Real
course,
quick, for a little science with Kev, the when you shoot a gun in water, the effective range of like the deadliness is only like a couple feet, and you have to remember that he's also shooting through
ice, yeah.
through thick ice. We're talking about like 2-inch ice. Like that's all gonna make it way less lethal.
Basically, Tim, if you want to go into the ice right now, we'll shoot you. Just come out with a couple bruises, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Of
couple
course,
surface bruises. Yeah.
after the scene, we catch up with Madeline and James after the events of Spectre. They are now over in Italy. And they're just cruising around, man. This is during some sort of ceremony where the Italians decide to burn things. And I've never seen this before. I was not allowed to play with matches growing up, but I'm going to forward this scene to my mother and say, see, this is why my childhood was unhappy. Why wouldn't you let me burn all of that furniture that I had to just dust every single summer, every week? My brother got to vacuum. I was like, the vacuuming's the fucking easier job. I got to dust the horse. And if I break it, someone's going to be mad at me.
I think it was more of just a symbolizing, like to symbolize
letting go, yeah.
Of
It
course,
was burning things you didn't want to do.
of course, Madeline wants him to let go of his past with Vesper Lind, who is not over yet. He wants her to go and forget to her tomb, and forgive her. And Bond's like, well, you got some secrets too, but I'll go ahead and do that. The next day, of course, he heads over to her tomb. And when he gets there, he burns a letter that says, "Forgive me." And as he does that, the thing explodes.
Boom!
And I like the sound design here as well, because he's got that like shell shockedness and trying to figure out what's going on.
It was
This kicks
loud.
off.
That explosion was loud.
Yes,
I slacked you something I would like you to read.
it says the tomb goes boom.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
that. That's what I wanted.
It's just absurd that they're like, put more explosives, you know? Like,
Dude, that should have killed him. That
that-
door smacked him in about.
One, like, the abilities that James Bond has is not to get killed by explosive, because there are several times where grenades go off right next to him.
Oh yeah,
And he's just, and he
And
stands
also,
back up. It's all right.
The eardrum fortitude on this
Oh,
guy, right?
yeah.
I mean, I would have no hearing left if an explosion like that went off next to my old ears, but he works out.
And this scene, you were talking about sound design, impeccable. You know, like this I think is one of the best, up there with Saving Private Ryan. Obviously, that is like a much more iconic, better like overall scene. Sure. But with this, and just in terms of sound design, I was like, damn, this is one of the better modern uses of that type of ringing effect, and like the way that it really disorients us and him.
100%. Couldn't agree more. This, of course, kicks off a great action sequences with even more great sound design, where Bond is chased by Cyclops. He ends up getting the better of Cyclops. And I love this, by the way. He doesn't really have that hard of a problem. He's been out of the game for 5 years at this point, but he's there, or however many years at this point. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This is right after Spectre. It's not, the time jump is a little bit later when he goes to Jamaica, which, by the way, don't let me forget to explain the relevance of that later, unless you have that, Tim. But this kicks off a great action sequence ends with him jumping on a motorcycle. That moment where he goes up the ramp and launches himself, which we saw in trailers, but it was
a million times.
Yeah,
fuck.
But like, also real convenient that all these steps in the middle have that mound so that he can just drive on it.
No, that's how they used to do it, Kevin. They used to do it back when they built these cities back in the early 12th century. Mm-hmm. They were like, we need to snowboard down these things. Like, stairs are for suckers. When it snows, we need to be able to skate down these things.
The ancient Romans were like, we need to skate down.
We've seen the sequence so many times in trailers, and it was just as badass.
Him diving at the block as the car comes at him is such a cool effect.
Yeah,
that was rad. Anyway,
the amount of car flips in this movie.
Flips.
God, this movie gets the car flip 2 thumbs up from Tim Geddes.
Yeah. Earlier when I was saying the action got me right away, it was this. It was that car flipping and him diving in that block. Holy shit, that was amazing.
And it's important, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a spy thriller. It's an action movie, right? I wouldn't say it's an action movie, right? A spy action movie. And so, that was one of the disappointing things about Spectre, was it was like, I'm just like, there's nothing for me to really care about here. And even when the action sequences kick up, they're not memorable. And these are just fun. They're well directed and, of course, well motivated. He beats Cyclops up. He goes and grabs Madeline, who he blames for this, for double crossing him because she's still got secrets and they're having trust issues. She has not shared everything. And they go and they get into the Aston Martin, which has either a new Aston Martin that's been rebuilt, or Q has been working on it for years. I don't understand how he keeps getting these cars.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But Andy, I would be pissed off just beside myself if it weren't for the fact that he had another fucking Aston Martin that was a later year model, like a 70s Aston Martin that I want to say was from Her Majesty's Secret Service, but don't call me on that, chat, if I'm wrong. In another storage place, in another garage in another
In
part of
London,
London. I was like,
yeah.
you know what? That explains it, Tim. That
Yeah.
explained it. He just
Yeah.
keeps these cars everywhere.
I
That
love
makes
it.
sense.
Finally,
and I love that she gets it at
they
the end. And
watched in
she's the one-
review. They're like, we're doing this for Nick.
But again, significance. I could
I-
be wrong about this. I'm spitballing, but I'm pretty sure that was the make and model of the Aston Martin that he was driving when his wife dies in Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is why that's significant at the end of the movie when Madeline and his daughter are driving. But I could be wrong about that, Chad. If I'm wrong, never tell me. Anyway, you get that great sequence that we were
You just
talking
wanna
about.
know.
Where everyone surrounds him and they start shooting him, and we've seen this in the trailers, but of course Bond is just sort of waiting for the emotional proof that Madeline didn't betray him, and it's such a great scene because he's trying to break her, but she just says James, and he goes, all right, like I'm being stupid, right? I'm obviously okay. Yeah, I gotta say it.
Love
I gotta
it.
get us out of this, and then just kicks it up, fucking miniguns everything around him. And it's at this point, if I were Cyclops, I'd be like, this dude put my head into a brick. He popped my eye out, and now he's got miniguns coming out everywhere. I'm gonna retire.
What
Right.
else can this man do?
What can he do? What can he not do?
My brain is spilling out of my skull right now.
Of course, they end up getting away. I can't remember how, and they go over to the train station where Bond puts Madeline.
They
on
just
the
kind of
train.
lose him. They just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
lose him.
I
They
mean, he
do all the
fucks them all
smoke.
up.
The
with
caltrops
miniguns.
moment that was really cool though.
So
Dropping the
fucking
caltrops
cool.
underneath and the other car
Like
running over
ninjas
them.
do,
Oh.
but a car.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
dope. And I like the old school buttons too. That hit for me. Of course, he puts her on the train and she says, like, how will I know you're safe or something like that? And he says, you're never going to see me again. And the train pulls away and she does that
Would
thing where she
hurt.
follows him, but eventually the train goes too far and she can't see him anymore. And that kicks off title sequence.
And there is a moment right there that I could have sworn. I don't know if I manifested it within my own brain and my own eyeballs, but I was telling Kevin that like I thought that she was pregnant because I could have sworn she like grabbed her stomach.
She
in
does
that-
have she has a weird placement of her arm, which I was like, that's weird, but I didn't. I never put it there. Also, I don't know if she
as
would
they're
know.
driving away on the train. Like I could have sworn she kind of grabbed her like herself in a way that kind of indicated, hey, she might be pregnant. So
Didn't see the pregnancy plot coming at all.
Nick,
That
give
was,
me
like, very fucking cool.
That was great.
I love how they set it up with like she constantly is lying about shit, and it's
Yeah.
like everyone's like, don't trust her.
Yeah.
So here we are. Time to rank the James Bond intro songs
There
and
we go.
visuals. Currently, number one, we have Skyfall by Adele. And I just rewatched all of them going into
Yeah.
this, and fuck, man, Skyfall, holy hell.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, we gave Skyfall number one for the strength of the song, which
Mhm.
I think is, in my opinion, the best
Oh, it's
song of
number
all
one.
the Daniel Craig songs. So it'll be interesting to hear this one. This one, I thought the visuals are great. Still not a huge fan of the Billie Eilish song, though, for what
so-
it is.
Number one, we have Skyfall from Adele from Skyfall.
Mhm.
Number two, we have Another Way to Die from Alicia Keys
Quantum
and
of
Jack
Solace.
Black from Quantum of Solace. Then we have from Casino Royale, Chris Cornell's You Know My Name,
Mhm.
which is a banger. And then at last place, Distant Fourth, we have Sam Smith's The Writings
Right.
on the Wall
Right.
from Spectre. So now, where do we want to put No Time to Die from Billie Eilish? Nick, go first.
I'm inclined to put it right above the Sam Smith song. So at number 4. I loved it. I thought the visuals were amazing, but I just feel like that song, it just is not hype. And it's unfortunate because when I think of the other ones, I think of they're iconic almost. They're such a sign of the times. The Chris Cornell song, which are like, we're coming straight into like the early 2000s for that, or like, they're the mid-aughts, as Kevin would say. The Adele song is a song I sometimes where I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking having a good day right now, Tim. I'm feeling myself. I fire up some fucking Skyfall.
Oh, yeah,
because
dude.
Adele is the only one, Andy. She's the only person on this fucking planet that gets me.
really, wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Okay.
wow.
Interesting.
Huge.
I-
I put it number 4.
Yeah, this one's weird for me because I think this one might have the visuals that I enjoyed the most.
The gun
Um,
spiraling was fucking sick.
My problem
Yeah,
with
that's
it,
cool.
my problem with it is like I dislike the progression of the song. I wish that it kicked in harder when it does kick in. I think like you do get some percussion later on, I just need that sort of to be a more impactful bam. Like now we're all going right now. But I do like the song overall. I just kind of wish that when it did kick in, it was a bit more hype. I would put this at number 2 underneath Adele.
Kevin.
I really like the Adele song, but just something about the way this all kicked in. I didn't like this song when I heard it just on its own, but with the video behind it in that moment, oh man, it hit real hard. I would put this one as number 1.
Yeah, for me, it's probably mid somewhere. I similarly don't love the song, but I think the movie, watching it, especially the use of the score, kind of utilizing the aspects of the song, and also the song itself, kind of being light kind of progression of the James Bond theme itself, I really enjoyed. The biggest problem with it is what Andy's talking about. It lacks an explosion moment. Like
hit.
Skyfall builds and builds. It's dope the whole time. And then it has that moment where she's like at the Skyfall, and then there's like the choir in the back. Like, come on. Like, that's so good. And this movie, it has the ramp, or this song has the ramp to it. There's this instrumental break where it's just kind of ratcheting up with the strings and it's going and going. And then it just goes back to Billie Eilish and the same. Like, it needed a motherfucking key change, Andy. You know what I'm talking about?
It needed the where you go, I go part, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Like that fun that we're like, oh, we're not quite done yet. And then it ramps, and then it hit.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, Skyfall, number 1.
The visuals, fucking incredible.
Amazing.
So good. And I think that the mixing of the time symbolism, the death symbolism, the life symbolism, the guns turning into the DNA helixes and all that stuff.
By
for
the
it,
way,
Nick.
I could be reading a lot into this. So, I got to go back and watch it. But there was a lot of the other titles in this too, which was super cool.
You see the hearts.
Sands, we got the hearts, we got him underwater. So it was very much like, hey, we're bringing all those elements together, and this is it.
This is it.
Yeah, and because of all that, I put it at number 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is that?
Good job, Tim. Great job.
So there we go. The rankings of the Daniel Craig Bond songs. Number 1, Skyfall. Number 2, No Time to Die. Number 3, Another Way to Die. Number 4, You Know My Name. And number 5, The Writings on the Wall. Back to it, Nick.
This is where we pick up. And by the way, this is my favorite shot in this movie. And this one might be one of my favorite sequences in this movie. The title comes out in like sort of a wipe. And as it wipes, it does like a clock wipe and then comes straight. And it's the side of that building that those guys are climbing.
Yeah.
And
my God,
like,
this shot.
That is the coolest
so
fucking shot
cool.
I've ever seen. And I love that it's just, you only see these guys in silhouette, by the way. Like, at no point later in the sequence, you kind of see a little bit of their faces and stuff. But this shit looks Metal Gear as fuck.
Yeah, dude. Fucking gecko suits.
The way they're fucking coming down too, like upside down, and the camera like flips with them, so that
they're right side up and we're upside down as they come into the hallway. Is so cool.
Yeah,
and they burn. They have those two cool things that burn the window out.
Laser,
it just like drops perfectly.
Did we already?
Yeah, I thought the glass would have been a lot louder.
Did we already jump 5 years later?
Yeah,
this is 5 years later. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So right at the start,
cool.
Yeah.
However many years later.
Yeah, it's cool, an iconic scene. But Andy looked away right at that moment and then looked back, and I was like, I was like, Andy, it said jump 5 years later, and he was like, oh, cool, I missed it.
That's so funny.
It was like it was perfect time of me looking at Nick, and me and Nick both at the same time. That was fucking awesome. Like the visuals of that.
Yeah.
And then Kevin was like, Andy, 5 years later. I was like, what? 5 years later.
I felt like that was an important thing.
That's kind of important.
That's so funny. What I love about this is kind of a perfect example of setting the tone of the direction of this movie, and like how I think it's just so superior to the direction of the prior films, because we've seen cool camera shots in movies, and we're all suckers for that. Every time it's like, oh, spin the camera, we're probably going to be into it. Whether it's The Rock and Statham fighting and like doing the suplex and the camera goes with it, or in Thor Ragnarok when we get that throne room shot as it kind of goes up and twists. So like or even Spider-Verse, right? Where we see him kind of like rising up as he's falling and all that. Yeah. This shot kind of combined all of those elements in different ways to be something fresh like I have never seen before. Like the fact that they are coming down the skyscraper and the way the cameras flip the other way and the way it lingers on the shot of them being right side up, but the skyscrapers that we're seeing behind in the way vista are upside down from the sky. It's like, this is so cool. And
Yeah.
again, it goes back to the runtime. This movie allows itself to have cool shots and to establish not just character moments, but like locations in a way that we haven't seen before. So fuck yeah.
Absolutely. And by the way, Kevin, you're probably the only person in this group that has ever done this. Have you ever dropped one of those like 4x8 pieces of plywood? Like if you just hold them up and you let them tip over, they go like
Yes,
this.
Nick. Yeah.
Like they actually catch wind. They don't
Yeah,
slam
yeah, yeah.
down. They do exactly what this glass did, which it kind of the wind underneath it pressed it up and it kind of like floated down.
So
I was like,
cool.
that
Yep.
was freaking cool. Anyway, they go in and they gotta steal the MacGuffin here, including Dr. Valdo Overchev, who gets a call right before all this stuff happens from Saffron, who was like, "Hey,
hold
it's all
on,
gonna
hold
go
on.
down."
Let's back up a little bit. Right before the call, he gets pranked by a bunch of assholes.
Yeah,
You
he's
know
a
what I
prick.
mean?
This guy's
And
a
he
dick.
lets them die because maybe they deserve it. I don't know.
Oh wow.
I don't know. I don't know, Andy. I'm
Let
just
that be
saying.
crazy.
I'm just saying shit. You know?
Let that be a message to Snowbike Mike when he starts the new studio. Don't prank Kevin or you'll
Yeah.
die.
Don't do it. Do not do it.
This whole sequence is really, really cool. This is one of the moments, though, I wish that they did not need to have him talk because as they shoot the magnets down they steal the whole thing, kill everyone else, kidnap him because they need him to program this stuff, and then they shoot a bunch of magnets down the elevator, and we get it. The guy jumps down. The first guy jumps down, and he stops, and then Obrovich goes, "Magnets." I'm like, it didn't matter what it was.
Nick,
We
do you
get
know
our-
what happened? Do you know what happened 3 seconds before Overden says magnets?
What you said? Magnets?
I looked over at Andy. I grabbed him. I said magnets.
Yes. Do you know
Yeah.
who
What
else?
a- dude,
You know
this
who
is
did
the
this scene
shit.
better?
This-
Mission Impossible Fallout, when they had the magnetic vest, remember, and he had to jump down the thing, and he had kept magnetizing himself.
That
Come
was
on,
cool.
stop
as fuck.
stealing shit.
But no, but I'm telling you, this is kind of
Cool
what
shot,
this
though.
franchise has been missing for
Yep.
me. I need sequences like this to be like, that is clever as hell. Because I think Mission Impossible has those moments in spades, and we got that moment early on in the movie. I'm like, hey, I'm already on board. Everything you showed me so far, I'm stoked about it. But this is some cool as hell shit because
Yeah.
I thought they're gonna be bombs. I thought they were mines planning around that were gonna explode or do some shit. But the whole technology behind it is some dope ass stuff.
I
Well, of
honestly
course.
think that this sequence of like this bad guy heist coming in and jacking everything was one of the coolest I think I've ever seen. Like with them rappelling down, with them getting this giant spike thing dropping in and then the way it was so quick and action packed and fucking amazing. Like shout outs to them. Like they really made something really spectacular with this.
Very cool. And of course, I'm teasing. Of course, that you have to have a line occasionally to explain what the hell's going on for the uninitiated. But the visuals of this, very, very cool. You're absolutely right. Of course, they make off, and we catch up with Bond, who's wearing a very, very, very short shirt in this.
Why? You just see his little belly line. Like, it's so funny.
Did you steal this from a child? Is this what a Greg shirts? What the fuck happened here?
This is how cutoffs become a thing. It's slowly and over time.
Just slowly over time.
Yeah, it
grows
works
upwards.
its way up. It works its way up. Don't fight it.
I'm not gonna fight it ever, Kevin. I'm wearing one right now underneath my crew neck
I know.
sweatshirt.
I know.
God, he looked
hold on,
amazing
hold
in
on,
this
hold on,
movie.
hold on. Yeah. Sorry. We just somehow blew right past one of the first scenes in the movie, really. The first time we see Daniel Craig, and he is just when he's like looking over the water when she's in the water. And he
Oh,
is
right.
wearing impossibly small little briefs, and I heard Nick made a guttural sound. Like we're gonna have to rank those abs because like really this all began with Daniel Craig in Casino Royale walking out of that water.
Oh yeah.
Were they born in labs? Now it's time to rank those abs.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rank Those Abs here for the James Bond universe. I actually think we did have a list of this, Tim. So if you want to vamp for a second, I can probably try to look it up. But I
I'm
will
gonna
say
say,
they didn't linger on the abs a lot in this one.
and that's because he's old as shit. And
But
I
he
feel like,
still looks great though. His chest and his
I mean,
upper
is
abs
he a
look
fit old
fucking
man?
cut.
100%. But he's got old man skin. If you look at it,
Oh
I-
no way,
I-
Kevin! You're
I
being
really-
crazy right now.
dude, I really feel like the makeout scenes with Madeline in the like that happened right after this, like they're running in the hotel, like it looked weird because he's so old, that gray hair, and it just like
It's
Tim,
made
I'm
me
gonna need you to
uncomfortable.
have.
It
I'm gonna
made
need
me
you to have like a
uncomfortable.
really like tough talk with Kevin after this, like some sort of
Yeah.
employee boss review. Like this is crazy right now.
It's just simply unacceptable.
He looked
I-
amazing.
I think he
No.
looked amazing. I will agree with Kevin that I'm like, this might be the tip of this might be the farthest out we can have Daniel Craig making out with someone who looks like she's his daughter, and
But
then
here's
hanging out
here's
with
the
his
problem,
grandkid.
though. She just looks younger than she is. She's 36 in real life.
How old is Daniel
Okay,
Craig?
he's like 60, isn't he?
I have no idea.
No,
That-
he's not 60.
But she
I think
looks like
he's-
she's like
Tom Cruise is
24.
60.
And you don't think he's as old as Tom Cruise?
Daniel
Come on.
Craig is
53.
53.
53, pretty much 60.
No.
Oh.
50, they do say 53 is the new.
You
63.
think when Nick turns 53, we're gonna be making fun of him less than when he's 60? Like,
Fucking
it's
A,
the
dude.
same thing.
You know what?
Once
Every
you're
year
over
it gets
50,
worse.
you know,
Every year over 50, it's going to get exponentially worse.
the
to
tomato's
point where I'm
too
just like,
soft. The tomato's
no,
too soft at
it's
that
true.
point
I thought he
Ugh.
looked phenomenal in this.
because it loses its firmness, like an old person.
Oh, you mean it prunes up and wrinkles? And
Yeah.
you have to throw it out in
Yeah.
the garbage?
You
Yeah,
touch it,
I
you're like,
understand.
that doesn't feel firm. That's something's wrong with that tomato.
Having said that, I think he probably looked the best he's ever looked in Casino Royale because he was youngest. He looks great in Skyfall as well. The way he comes out of the pool and he's just sitting there in the pool and you see his back muscles and you're like, Jesus Christ, dude.
We've
are
got
those
an
made of rock?
ageist here. I can't believe this. This
What the
is
heck's
wild.
going on?
You know the one thing I'm gonna critique about this movie in terms of somebody's look? They don't give him the eye shot. They give it to the kid, and the kid deserves it because those fucking baby blues are
Very blue eyes.
fantastic.
Yeah,
But Daniel Craig's eyes are
they're
piercing.
piercing.
And I, when you're looking at
It's
the
all
overall
visual
package,
effects, Tim.
I
It's
feel
not
like
real.
this movie, but they didn't give it to him. They didn't give him that like moment with his eyes.
Anyway, back to the plot. Bond is in Jamaica here, and for anyone who is a fan of Bond or especially the books, this holds a little special place. I can't remember. I think we've been to Jamaica before. I can't remember one of the movies that took us there, but in the books, of course, Bond was based out of Jamaica, and he ran his cover was the Universal Exports, which we saw a little bit in Quantum of Solace. Of course, Ian Fleming, who wrote the Bond books, lived in Jamaica, and his estate Goldeneye was there. That's where he wrote all the books. So he had a special place in his heart for it. So that's what he wrote into this. So it's cool to see Bond sort of ending, sort of metaphorically ending his career where it began.
Yeah.
And of course, Jamaica is just a beautiful place to shoot.
I thought that was really cool. Didn't Ian Fleming? What was the area that he bought? Like the estate, and wasn't that also where 007's retirement home was?
I maybe
Or-
I Goldeneye look the actual estate Goldeneye looks different than that.
Mhm.
If you Google it, I don't think it was the same place, but it could have been. I don't know.
I caught that
You
as
can
well,
rent
and
it,
I
by
thought
the
that
way.
was. Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
for a while, I believe you could
That
rent
seems-
Ian Fleming's house. It's like
Yeah.
small. It's not that huge, but I always
Oh.
wanted to go do that and just get hammered on
That would be so
vodka
cool. Let's
martinis.
do that. Let's go podcast
100%.
over
I'm
there.
all in.
That'd be fucking rad. Anyway, he's there and he sees a cigar and immediately realizes that his old buddy Felix Leiter is there. So he goes over and meets him. I forget how he picks up a tail and he realizes that he's there. And I love that Tim's wearing shorts, by the way. Let's not call attention to the fact that Tim looks like he's part of a ska band. There it is.
But let's do call attention to the fact that Greg Miller finally announced the news that Benjamin James Miller has arrived.
Yay.
DJ Miller, baby.
Everybody go send Greg and Jen some
DJ
sweet nasty love
Blazkowicz.
for
Love
their
to
the
see
arrival of their first Bambino, Benji. I'm gonna call him Benji because I like that. Or
Benji.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Come on,
Benji and the Jets.
Ben Kenobi Miller. That's great. We're very happy for him. So we're in Jamaica. He catches up with Felix Leiter. And to Kevin's earlier point, the Leiter character, like in the other movies, you would, if you blink, you're like, oh, that's Felix Leiter. I didn't realize that. Jeffrey Wright he does such a great job making this role three-dimensional and making this character a person that I'm like, I would watch this series if it was a Felix Leiter series, right?
Mhm.
He's fun. He comes off like he can be serious, he can be intimidating, he can also be like kind of silly. And this scene where he's like, let's go someplace quiet, and they go to this bar to get hammered, and they're buddies, man. Like
Love it.
it's great. They have great chemistry, and I'm gonna miss both these characters when they're gone. But anyway, they go to this, and as they walk into the bar, who do we spot? We see the new 007 walk by him and sort of check him out for a hot second. And as she is, of course, on patrol from MI6, Felix Leiter comes and says, "Listen, we've lost the scientist. This thing happened. I need your help getting him back for old time's sake." And Bond's like, "Dude, I am retired. Sorry, no big deal." And then they brought this dude that comes in and smiles a lot. And I'm like, this guy's got to be a bad guy, because if he's not, he's the worst casting ever. He's going to ruin this movie.
I fucking love that actor. He was in some fairy tale movie. and he plays this. Oh, Aladdin. He was in Aladdin.
Was
You're
he?
right.
Yeah.
You're right.
He
He
played
was the
Aladdin.
other prince that was
The
trying
other
to
prince.
marry Jasmine, like the douchey one.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he plays that character so well, and I feel like it felt out of place. But once we knew what was going on, like I enjoyed it, and I liked that the smile didn't go away once it was revealed that he was actually on Siphon's side. Like you're
I know.
muted, Andy.
I wish they didn't steal ideas from Fast and Furious because it just reminded me of Scott Eastwood. You know,
It,
Get
it
outta
does, yeah.
get these concepts out of here. Quit stealing ideas from the
These
better
concepts outta here.
espionage
Get
movie.
these concepts out of espionage. We're gonna call Fast and Furious an espionage movie.
Love
That's a
it.
big
Love
word.
it.
That's a big word that Vin Diesel. Of course, as he leaves, he goes to his cool like Land Rover or whatever he has there, and it won't start. And who should pull up right next to him? Nomi, who's the new that's her first name. She's the new 007. She pulls up and asks him if he wants to ride on the scooter, and he's like, sure, why not? You know, Bond is like, sure, you know, I'm a sexy guy in a sexy place. Let's see where this plays out.
He knew right away. He
Of
knew
course
right
he did.
away.
And as he walks through, of course, she goes, "Oh, is that the bedroom?" And he's like, "Huh?" And he walks in, and she takes off. She's wearing I think a wig.
A wig,
takes it
yeah.
off, and she's like, "Hey, what's up?" And starts speaking with her amazing English accent, and it is great. And drops the proverbial facade and says, "Listen, stay in your lane, Bond, because this Project Hercules thing is." You're old, you're retired, just don't do any of this shit. Stay out of my way or I'll shoot you in the fucking knee. I believe was the threat. And he's like, cool. And then, of course, he thinks about it for a second and he calls Felix Leiter and he's like, I'm in. And that is where we head over
Wait,
to.
no, hold on, because we get the excitement from Felix on the phone, being like, "Yeah," and it's like,
Yeah.
God, Felix, you're so good.
He's
Fun.
great. I could not be more impressed with how they handled both Ana de Armas as a new take on a Bond girl and this new 007. Like we knew it from the trailers that we were going to get this, and there was going to be the expected rivalry between James Bond and her, and like, what does this mean? She has the new car, she has the new tech, all that stuff, and I really love. Like, we just watched Cars 3 in review a month or two ago, and like, it's a similar type of dynamic, right? Of like having to get used to it. Like, what relationship are they going to have? I thought that they really did something that I haven't seen before with this, of showing the respect between that they each have for each other and playing it where it felt realistic. It felt not like some type of contrived, like forced mentorship type thing, or, you know, her being this hot shot that is like eventually like fucks something up. And she's like, oh, well, I guess you're actually better than me. By the end of it, it's like they both just respect each other and they're both just dope, which is great.
And I want to point out sort of something that I think was a make good from Quantum of Solace, right? Where we had Gemma Arterton's character kind of come in and be a very disposable Bond girl. So much so to the point that she kind of comes in, does one thing, and then gets killed and covered in oil, which at the time was an homage to Goldfinger, who had killed someone as a message to Bond, covering her in gold. But in this one, a lot of people had that criticism, like, oh wow, that character was just heavily underutilized. And so in this one, I love that he cuts over to Cuba and we get the same vibe, right? So when he picks up, I forget Gemma Arterton's character, and I think it was like Strawberry something. Strawberry Fields, maybe, might have been her name. Again, another generic thing. We get that
Yeah,
vibe.
it was. We talked about, as I was scrolling through our old video, I mentioned her. So you nailed it, Nick. Great job.
Of course, you know, we get that same vibe. Someone who's inexperienced, someone who's this. He asks her, oh, this is your first job. She's like, yeah, I've only had 3 weeks of training. We get a moment where she sort of, he's sort of confused as to whether or not she's trying to undress him. And she goes, no, I just want you to wear this amazing tuxedo. And then, of course, they walk right across the street. And I love the look of Cuba in this movie and the streets and like the rawness of it. And then these two beautiful human beings walking across in like thousands of dollars worth of evening wear right across the street over there. Of course, she feigns nervousness and he goes, maybe we'll get a drink. Drinks the iconic, very subtle vodka martini,
not
shaken,
stirred.
not stirred, with a little twist of lemon, which was a Bond's thing or Daniel Craig's thing that they added to this. And then she downs it, of course, real quick. And you're like, oh, she's not doing very well. But then, of course, as the scene progresses, they get the earpieces. We get the whole thing where they go up and they find, or we see the scientist Dobrov. What is his name?
Have we named
Oberov,
once what
Gorbachev.
the actual disease is?
Project Hercules is what it was called. Hercules.
Heracles.
Heracles,
Yeah.
not
There you go.
Hercules.
There we go. Okay.
Heracles. I read that wrong.
Weird.
Okay.
Anyway, this
Fox
is a great
back.
scene. They put the things in. We're hearing them talking, but then of course she's like, "I'm going to patch you in with other things," and we start hearing the specters, people talk, and then we hear Blofeld talking, and then we see someone walking around with an eye on a pillow, and I'm like, that is
So
fucking cool.
fucking cool.
Right. Of course, her name is Agent Paloma, by the way, which is one of my favorite drinks. I love that. Walking around, I just made me think like every time you said, her
Oh
name,
yeah, you like
Paloma, I was
Palomas. Yeah.
I gotta
All
get
the
Paloma
leader.
after this. Very, very good. And then we kick it off, right? The action sequence kicks off, and before that, we get another great sequence where he's hearing him talk, and he's like, "Holy shit, that's Blofeld!" And then all of a sudden, the attention turns toward Bond, and the spotlight hits him, and he realizes, "Holy shit, this whole thing was a setup for me." But Gorbachev has designed this drug not to kill James Bond like it was supposed to. He has designed it to kill, per Safran's orders, every member of Spectre. And it seems like gathering all of them in one party just as a general hang for Blofeld's birthday, not a great idea. Maybe not the best organizational tactics. If you remember in Quantum, they only got together very rarely to discuss very important matters. And when they did, they were all scattered about hiding in plain sight at the opera with the earpiece there, and then the second anyone recognized they were there, they all just scattered and went away, except for Mr. White, who's smart enough to realize maybe he doesn't know who I am. I'm gonna sit in this crowd for a little bit. Shout out to Mr. White, cool villain. Anyway, shit goes down, and Paloma, it turns out, maybe has had more than a few weeks of training, because she drop kicks a motherfucker and then picks
Oh my
up
God,
the
so
dopest
cool.
MP7 and a handgun and just starts handling shit. And I love how this scene progresses because, of course, 007 comes and she tries to get Obertrav, and we're playing kind of like hot potato with the scientist. She's awesome. She's wrecking shit from the outside. Bond takes a moment, pours himself a Jack Daniels, and slides one over to Paloma. They cheers, take
So
a shot,
badass.
and then head right back into the action where she's like, "We're gonna need a car." She finds one. She uses it to smash into the scaffolding that's been put outside, and Oberchev falls into her lap, much to the chagrin of 007, who has lost him to Bond. And they tear off, but before they do, of course, a nice little touch. Paloma looks over and sees a Cuban cigar sitting on the seat next to her, and takes it and gives it to Bond for Felix, and that's cool.
So-
And then she goes, "I'll see you next time," and that is it for her.
So fucking cool.
So fucking cool. I want to pause right now because I just it's as we're doing this plot recap that I'm really realizing I fucking love this movie. Every single scene we've talked about so far is incredible.
Amazing.
There's like probably this whole Paloma fight with the eyeball, all that stuff. Before that, the kind of invasion into the skyscraper, all that. Before that, the horror intro that goes on forever with the super dope Bond intro. Hell yeah, No Time to Die. You fucking did it. Please continue, Nick.
And I also want to point out that I love how this movie can take itself not seriously and not feel lame.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah,
Drink,
because
taking the drinks and shit.
it's easy to roll your eyes at moments like that when a movie is kind of grounded and in a serious way, right? The tone of this is pretty serious, but I love that moment of taking the drinks, and I think that sort of continues on throughout the rest of the movie. There are several other moments where a stupid line is said, but it's good and it's funny, and you
works.
laugh and you go like, this is a great little moment of levity in this really intense shootout or whatever. Yeah, this
I mean,
movie's great, man.
I love it for the look that he gives after he takes the drink, which is that he needed it. Because remember, he hasn't done anything like this in 5 years, and he's a little worse for the wear, right? And all these new kids are running around, just fucking running, like lapping his ass. And so he has
Also,
that moment where he takes it and slams it down. He's like, "All right, get back out there!" Like
He
it's
also-
the third round.
He also just witnessed all these people's fucking face melt.
Melt off. Yeah, but
Yeah.
to him,
Yeah.
that's new, dude. He's seen
Yeah.
people bleeding from the eyes and shit. He doesn't care about that anymore. We cut back over to him. By the way, I love the touch that he steals 007's plane and takes him over to a barge where Felix Leiter and Logan Ash are waiting. Of course, this is where we realize that Logan Ash was in fact working for Safin the entire time. He betrays them, shoots Felix Leiter, and then sinks the boat. And we have a gut-wrenching scene where Bond tries to save Felix, and Felix just says, "Let me go. Go save yourself," and dies in his arms one more time. And Bond has to wait for the whole thing to start sinking. I thought he was going to swim out the back, but he ends up just somehow opening the door of the thing that wouldn't open before. Little pet peeve of mine. I'm like, we saw him lock that door. You're dead. Doesn't matter. He manages to escape and then gets saved by a big barge.
That was a different door, because that
Was
was a
it?
door that was on the level that he was on,
Oh,
and the
okay.
door that he went down was downstairs,
Copy that.
right?
But
But man, this scene really got me. Like, again, moments earlier, I was like, I fucking love Felix.
Mhm.
And then he gets shot, and then it's very quickly like, oh, he's not making it out of here, and like Bond, like you see Bond, you know, not
Kinda wrestling
give
with
up.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, don't no, we're gonna figure it out, and Felix is the one that has to be like, you know, what does he say? Like, it's been a good life, hasn't it, or something? And it's just like,
Good job or something
wow,
like that. Yeah, this
you
is really
guys
good.
fucking got me, Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good stuff.
That
Yeah.
hurt. That hurt too. End of an era feelings. We did miss a moment here that I want to call back. I think we missed a couple scenes here between M and maybe Moneypenny. I'm struggling to remember what they were, but I do remember a moment that I think I glossed over where Ray Fiennes' character says, "Get me Bond,"
Yeah.
but he's not referring to Daniel Craig. He's not
Yeah.
referring, or "Get me 007" is what he says. Excuse me, not Bond. Get me
Yes,
007.
007,
He's
yeah.
not referring to Bond, and that's when. And then we, of course we catch up with the new 007.
I don't think we'll like. I'll remember this later. So this is there's the moment where he's on the phone with her. Actually, it might be here where he's like, she's like permission to
That's
kill or
later
capture.
when she goes to find Logan Ash. She goes capture or kill order, and he's like, "Thank you for asking."
Yeah, and
He's
it's
like,
just
"Your
such a
predecessor
like.
never paid me that courtesy or whatever it was."
Yeah,
She's
that's
like, "Well, by the
I
book."
thought that was so cool.
That was
Yeah.
cool. That was cool. And I love that too, right? She's by the book, and of course Bond wasn't by the book, and you get that fun relationship where they learn from each other in this, which is good. We cut back over, and Bond just walks right in. I think he walks in MI6, either that or he goes to Moneypenny first. I can't remember. At one point, we get him coming into MI6, and he walks up to the teller, and he's like, "Name," and he goes, "I think he says Bond," and the guy's like, "Hmm," and he goes, "James Bond."
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "Oh, right." And then he gives him his visitor pass to MI6. Of course, he was once well known, and now everyone's just forgotten him. Of course, he heads up, and he's got a banger of a scene with Ray Fiennes here. Of course, he says hi to Moneypenny, which is huge. And then has a great scene where he's like, "Did this desk get smaller, or maybe you got smaller?" And then they give
Let's
each
just
other
get
shit. He's
bigger.
like, "Stay the fuck out of my way, man. Stay out of the way. You can't like." You got to be doing this stuff. You got to help us out. And Bond's like, "No, I'm not going to help you. I'll do my own thing." And then as he's leaving the room, he goes, "It definitely wasn't the desk that got smaller." And I'm like,
That got
"Damn."
bigger.
What's that? Oh, did the
No,
desk
no.
get bigger? That's what it was. I'm sorry. Did
Yeah.
this desk, he's like, "Has this desk always been this size?" Or basically inferring like, "Or did you just get smaller?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, "It wasn't the desk. You got smaller, motherfucker."
So great though when they I mean it's later on, we'll talk about it later. I just love when they reconvene and then Q was like, "Bond, hey, haven't seen you in a while." I was like,
Oh my
"Shit,
god, I love it.
From here, I believe we go over to excuse me. We go over to we'll just go over to Q's house from here, and Q set himself up for a little date, and he's like, "It's never a 9 to 5 job, is it?" I'm like, "Hey, man, welcome to the wonderful world of online content creation,
Mhm.
where sometimes there's a DC fandom thing happening on a Saturday, and you're like, are we doing that? I don't know."
He wasn't on a date with Moneypenny, right?
No, he was waiting for. I think the inference was that he was waiting for a gentleman to come over,
Oh.
which I thought was nice.
Which was hinted
Um,
at in the other movies, but like
Yeah, I
this
kind
one
of hinted in the other
drove
movies,
it
but in
home.
this one, he was
Yeah.
like, he said something about, he's going to be here any second, and I was like, anyway,
I relate
dope
to
ass
Q
apartment that
a-
Q lives in, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, I loved it.
I relate to
And that
Q a
cat.
lot in the ways of the hair, where it's like you're gonna get to a certain point, Andy, where you gotta get an adult haircut.
Mhm.
And Q
Yes, Q does not have that.
Q has looked Q in the earlier movies very, very young looking and had the hair to match it. But now he's aging. He looks more distinguished. He looks, upper 30s, lower 40s, but the hair is still kind of, he's got the cuteness to it or whatever. Maybe just, get a little fade or something. It's still like kind of Harry Potter looking is what I'm saying. So
so
let's
funny.
figure something out there, Q. Let's figure
Nick,
something out.
what's the deal with this cat? Is this a
Mm.
reference? Because like this is one of those watching Scream versus watching Scary Movie things where it's like Austin Powers and this, like, because Doctor
No,
Evil has the cat. Is that cat in any?
Blofeld
Blofeld
also had a cat,
but the cat was
but
a
it was
white
white.
cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a hairless cat. So maybe it was a little nod to Dr. Evil from Austin Powers, right? Because didn't he have a hairless cat in that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He did.
Mr. Wigglesworth. or
Mr.
Wiggles-
Bigglesworth.
Wigglesworth. Yeah.
So stupid. If that is a nod to that, put this at number one. Come on, right? Like if they had the balls to put fucking Austin Powers homage in this movie, that is some crazy meta shit that I would not even thought about.
In the first Austin Powers movie, the cat was white. It was the like cryogenic freezing process that made it
That made it
hairless. right?
That's
Or
yeah.
wait, the first movie there is a jump in time too.
Yeah, that's
So
the
yeah, that was the
present.
first
Yeah.
movie. You're right. So
Yeah.
it was very much Blofeld's cat. And
That's so funny.
Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna start that rumor right now. If it's not,
Yep.
that is a hidden Easter egg for Austin Powers fans.
Andy, get
Shout
on
out to them.
TikTok.
Did
Get
you
on the
know that the cat and
So funny. Anyway, they take the bionic eye, which is hilarious. They were of Cyclops's, and they give it to him to do some work on. And then, of course, he gives him the little whatchamacallit doohickey USB thing that he took from Oberchev's butt that he swallowed
Right.
that he must have pooped out. And gave it to him, and that, of course, filled in all the extra data that Oberchev had
no,
erased. What's up?
they like didn't they smack him in the face while he was trying to eat it when they were trying to like abduct him and he
Yeah, but
spills it
remember,
out.
he already ate it once.
yeah, it was already in the butt at one point.
He keeps putting this thing up his like in his mouth and down his butt.
It was in the digestive system at one point. I'd be
I-
worried
I
about
think- I
how,
think
how
you
are
have-
those? How are we making contact here with these USB drives? Are they that sort of infallible that it can go through your digestion? Maybe he
Well,
vomited
my-
it. I don't know.
My question is why, if you think that you're gonna have to keep swallowing something, switch it over to one of those ones that's like this big, right, Kev? You know they have the USB drives that are just tiny little caps.
have
You
one
don't
right
need
here,
one
I
that's
have
like
one
a
right
full
here.
thumb drive.
Hey,
Show 'em
Wrap
what
it
they
in,
use.
wrap
Yeah,
it in
that's-
saran wrap. you
Kevin,
know?
swallow that right now and tell me how long it takes to get through your system.
I know.
Anyway, they divine from here. Hey, this is the MacGuffin Project Hercules. Hercules, excuse me.
Hercule.
Hercules.
Hercules.
Hercules. Project. I'm just gonna call it Hercules. I can't say the other word. Is nanobots, and this missing data filled in all the DNA. And now he's got thousands and thousands and thousands of people's DNA, and this is a thing that can just pass between people and kill the one on contact, and you can never get rid of it. And in my opinion, it's kind of a terrible MacGuffin, but it's scary nonetheless. So he's like, we got to find Oberchev. And I can find him because the guy that shot Felix and betrayed me is Logan Ash. And so we got to find that guy first. The only way we can find him is we got to go to Blofeld. And the only person who's allowed to see Blofeld, though, or I guess he doesn't know about, he doesn't really talk. He tells 007 about Logan Ash to go after her, to find him. Meanwhile, he's like, I'm going to go talk to Blofeld. The only person that can get in close to him, which is ridiculous, is Madeline, his therapist. And you're like, I don't understand how this relationship works out because no one in their right mind would let this person who's been through all this shit with him anywhere close to him. But she's allowed to do it. Before that happens, though, we get a little visit from her, but
Wait.
from Saffron, who reveals that he is Safin.
Sorry, really quick. What was the relationship that they had together? Madeline
They-
and Blofeld.
He was
I couldn't
her
remember.
dad was partners with Blofeld. Her dad, Blofeld ran
Mr.
Spectre,
White.
and Mr. White was like the chief agent for Spectre, but they had double crossed him to
But-
try and take it down.
Had they interacted?
Yeah, in Spectre, they went up against each other, so they knew each other.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
helped
yeah.
James Bond like beat him in Spectre and blew him up, and then blew half his face off. So it's one of those
Face
things where I'm like, I don't
off.
think this is it.
Yeah.
Face off. I don't think this is a healthy relationship that we should be nurturing. But you know what? For the sake of the plot, here we go. Safin comes in and shows her the mask and is like, "I'm the guy that saved you. Shout out to me. Also, your life is mine now. Spray yourself down with some of this Chanel number 5 and go touch Blofeld and kill him for me, or I'll kill James Bond." is
I
the
was
one
pretty
person you love.
confused as Kevin was because it seemed like, hey, Madeline, you have a client here. He's kind of weird. Oh, don't say that. And it seemed like, have they ever talked to each other before?
No, Safin and him had not talked to each other.
Safin and her.
Her, excuse me.
Right, okay.
She and Safin had not.
Got it.
He had left her alone and was just sort of silently stalking her for her entire life.
Got it.
And then finally now is like, you're going to do this for me, basically, because I saved your life.
Yeah.
Now, if not, I'll kill James Bond. So she does, and we get a meeting of the minds there. They go to the prison, which is a creepy, very claustrophobic prison for me. Kevin, kind of funny.
Do we know anything about her life in between being saved and the last movie?
They went
Like-
into her backstory a little bit because her dad was alive still. So don't forget, like Mr. White was like not
So
there.
she
He
wa-
didn't get killed, and so
she-
he. What's up?
She was raised by Spectre.
I
Or,
don't
like, I
think
mean,
so.
him-
When we catch up to her in Spectre, she's like, I'm trying to distance myself from my dad. He's a bad guy. I'm not a Spectre agent. She was a therapist in
He was
that
an
movie.
Aspen.
Yeah, she
right?
was in Aspen, which again was a callback to a callback to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which happens in Aspen, I believe. I think it's a snowy area where he goes to a clinic that looks exactly like the clinic she starts off at. So a lot of homages there.
Yeah,
which
I'm
is
reading.
really
At some
cool.
point, she estranged herself from her father and quit all contact. She received her medical training from Oxford University and the Sorbonne. I don't know how to pronounce that. She later became a consultant in
Sorbet.
psychiatry, and as such worked 2 years with Médecins Sans Frontières.
With Doctors
uh,
Without Borders.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking of the
Yeah,
Middle
Les
there-
Eastern thing.
Enfants
yeah, yeah.
Terribles.
Yeah, there it is.
Let's see. Where do we leave off here? Oh, so they go to the prison, and of course she can't do it. The great scene here where he's like, Bond, don't lose it, and he's like, I never miss, and then turns the corner and sees her and immediately freezes.
It's a tough one.
I never freeze. Sorry, not I never miss. God, I'm terrible today. I never freeze, and he freezes. They see each other, and of course, they're it's very cold. And then when she goes into the room, she realizes she can't kill him, but she's already touched Bond, and that now the assassination drug or the nanobots have passed to Bond, and then Bond has this great meeting with Blofeld. And they just kind of lays it down, and he's like, Matilda has all the answers, bro. It's all her. Everything's her. And then Bond's like, you're pissing me off, so I'm gonna strangle you to death. But then stops himself, and poor Tanner is like, dude, you just lost all leverage you possibly had on him, and also his face is bleeding. And they look over, and he's like, oh shit, I thought that was a metaphor, but no, his face is bleeding. He's dead. Blofeld kind of goes out unceremoniously, which I don't know if I love.
I feel like I expected James to like feel a lot more because he had a relationship with Blofeld.
Yeah, they were brothers basically. Yeah.
To a certain
anyway,
age. Then he thought he was dead.
I thought there was going to be a much bigger sort of twist with how Madeline left that area and was like, you shouldn't be here, be careful. And I thought it was going to be one of those Winter Soldier type moments.
Well, I mean,
when he gets broken out, or I just thought it was going to have a much bigger impact. And I guess killing Oberfeld what's his name?
Blofeld.
Blofeld.
Killing Blofeld is a pretty big moment, but I thought there was going to be a much bigger sort of like, oh, everybody, we're all compromised, like one of those Mission Impossible type moments.
I appreciate the simplicity of it because especially this being the kind of wrap up of this franchise. Like, I like that. Cool. They kill Felix, they kill Blofeld, they kill Spectre. It's like they really kind of buttoned up a lot of things. And I think that if they added like kind of plot twist on plot twist on plot twist, at some point it would be what I don't like about some of the previous movies of being too convoluted. This is a little simple, and him just kind of dying the way he did kind of just felt fast. But I think overall I appreciate it contextually within the rest of the film.
I thought it was kind of. Oh, I was just say. I thought it was kind of silly that like, is it MI6? It was just like, oh, we don't know where she went, and like James is like, I know where she went. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Like they couldn't figure out where her like family home was.
Yeah, they're like, this home she's owned and probably filed taxes at for the better part of 30. How old was she, Tim? 24?
36.
36. Anyway, by the way, at this point, Blofeld tells him that Vesper, the whole bomb thing, he's like, that was me. I was just fucking with you, trying to get you to not to like distrust Madeline. And then Bond,
Like,
that's
bro,
what causes
like,
Bond
super
to attack
obvious.
him. Yeah, I know. Everyone should have known that. Bond's
Yeah.
not stupid. But anyway, Bond from there heads over and he tracks Madeline down to her childhood home in Norway. And then when he pops in, he learns she's got a little bambino named
Nope,
Matilda.
that's not what that means.
Bambina,
That means a little. There you
a
go.
little bambina
There-
named
It's
Matilda.
close enough.
And I'll tell you what, Tim, you want to say Nick names are confusing. I agree, because Madeline and Matilda very close to each other, and I kept getting confused every single time. I was like, "What is her name? Isn't Matilda short for Madeline or Maddie? I don't know. Don't name your kid something distinctive for Christ's sake, if you want me to remember it."
For God's sakes.
Great eyes, though, and of course, this is a great scene where he's like, he immediately knows it's his kid, and she's like, "It's not your kid." And he goes, "What about the blue eyes?" She's like, "Well, fuck you, other people have blue eyes." Meanwhile, my wife sitting next to me, be like, "That's his fucking kid. That kid's got the
best.
most
I
piercing blue
love
eyes I've
it.
ever seen in my entire life."
Yeah,
Very
I was
true.
sitting there trying to do the mental math, and I was like, all right, that kid would have to be around like four years.
Yeah.
Does it look 4 years? I'm like, I don't know. I have
What do
no
kids look
idea
like?
how to gauge children's age. It's all a mystery unless they're like 10.
I mean, here's my problem, Kevin. I grew up in the 80s and 90s when high school kids were all played by 35-year-olds. So every time I'd go out in public and see
Wild.
someone who was working
Wild.
a normal job, I'd be like, "Are you my contemporary? Am I supposed to look like you?" Very weird. Anyway, this is a great scene. They sleep together, and the next morning, the kid wakes him up. She's like, "I'm hungry," and so he cooks his daughter breakfast, which is very, very cute. And Madeline's watching, and it's a great scene. A lot of subtext in this, where she's kind of watching, and she's like, "I don't really know how to deal with this scene because it's endearing and amazing, but also like, there's no way this is going to work out." Bond calls. Into M, and he's like, "How's it going with Logan Ash?" 007's on the trail. That's where we get that great scene where she asks permission to capture or kill him. When Q hacks into the bionic eye and finds Logan Ash in an area, so they track his bio, or they track the eye and where it's at. And Bond says, "Hey, can you give me an update on where Logan Ash is?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll send it to your phone right now." And it turns out Logan Ash is like a mile away from him, and he goes,
Cool.
"No, I wanted Ash's location, not mine." And then he realizes, oh shit, they're coming for me.
Shit.
Yeah, this was one of
So-
those moments that I think the whole theater kind of had that gasp of like, "Oh my god, oh shit, he's on the way. Why am I so scared of this white dude?" Like, I don't know, if it was Rami Malek maybe or whatever, but obviously this dude is like twisted and he's coming for him. So I knew that like this is going to kick into a really neat sequence, and I can't wait to see what happens because it's gonna. You got the kid also.
That's why we're scared. Like, that's the
Yeah.
thing, is like the audience had that feeling because they immediately set up the stakes perfectly of, wow, we believe this story. We believe James loves this woman. And now there's this child involved. So it's like the stakes are raised. So even this like lame ass white bad guy, the skinny dude's going to come. It's like that guy can easily kill this child. So there is that fear there.
Yeah.
I did
And, you
think there
know-
was a moment
Go ahead,
where she's like, "Oh, I got a mosquito bite."
I thought
then
the kid was
later-
gonna die.
She's like, "Do mosquitoes have friends?" And I was like, "Is she Blofeld's kid?" Like, you know. And now she's got a little
Creepy
bit of
little
this.
fuck.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought too.
I
thought
got
was like-
scared. I didn't like
I
it.
thought the kid was gonna bleed out of the eyes, and I was like, damn, that's gonna get real dark or real fast.
Mhm.
Anyway, this kicks off another car chase sequence, which I didn't love this as much because it's mostly just Bond making these SUVs go off of ramps and shit and fall all over the place. But I did like it when they get out and he starts taking people on in the fog, not the least of which he clotheslines someone with a fucking cable, and then asks, gives Madeline a gun and says, "Stay here, shoot anyone that comes to this door. It's not me." And then he pretty much handles everyone, including Logan Ash, who he shoots, and then drops a car on.
Yeah, he does. And it was fucking cool.
And it was
Yeah,
very
but
cool.
like maybe leave people alive so that you can interrogate them and find out more information.
Might have been a good
'Cause-
idea. Might have been a good idea.
Yeah, I
No
feel
time.
like he's supposed to
No
learn
time to
that
die.
lesson in like maybe the third movie.
First movie. Very first movie.
I loved him baiting them into all these situations. Like, I love the shooting in the air, drawing them towards an area, motorcycle hitting the cable car. All that was really damn cool. Sorry, I'm scarfing down a carrot right now.
That's good. Yeah, Kevin, if you'll remember, sorry, just to pick that point up. Remember, Dame Judi Dench's character was like, well, I thought killing one less. Whenever he says like, I thought killing one less bomb maker was a good thing, and she's like, he didn't leave him. She's like, who cares about a bomb maker? I want access to his network. Of course, Bond just never learns his lesson, man. Never learns his lesson.
Yeah,
Drops a car on the
yeah.
guy. I like to think it's because the guy's younger and better looking than him. And one day I'm like, just drop a car. on
Oh, you
that
think he's
motherfucker.
better looking than him, huh?
At this point, yeah. And the guy's taller, better hair. What are you gonna do? Daniel Craig's sexier for sure. Anyway, let's move on. He goes
Weird.
up on the
So
road,
weird.
starts walking down the road, and who should pull up? And a dope ass Aston Martin 007, new 007, picks him up and asks him if he wants a ride again. And it's
In the
it's great.
accent.
In the accent, in the Jamaican
Great.
accent.
Yeah,
where
I thought it was
her
great. It
cover
was
from
really
from
good.
Act One. She just rips onto a tarmac. And then drives right into the back of a plane where Q is there to meet them. And they have tracked somehow someone over to this island where they figured Saffron is, or Saffron, excuse me. It's Poison Island. That's where his family's from. And they make poison there. And this is where the whole thing is. And at this point, I'd have been like, why don't we just.
I love it.
What's up?
I mean, because it's a return to ridiculous villains that are
It's
just
absurd.
absurd villain. Like what the Die Another Day, or the one where it's like, oh, he's from North Korea and he's making a giant
Die Another
like
Day.
yeah.
Laser.
It just I love it. It's so absurd. It's just like, all right, cool. The family of poison people.
It's one of those things though where you're like, you're a hired thug, right? Some of these people they've been coerced to working there, right? The scientists,
no.
you figure. But then there's some people that are just there working. long can you work in that environment before you're like, I gotta look for another job?
Yeah.
There's no vending machine.
This
here.
isn't
There's
right
not
for
even
me.
a snack. There's no Starbucks on this island.
Oh, Nick, I guarantee you their vending machines are great. Do you not remember the episode of The Simpsons when they go to work for Nick Scorpio? Is that right?
Scorpio.
And
Yeah.
like everything was paradise for them.
It's true.
Because like they're making them sign up for these awful things, so might as well entice them in every way that you can.
Benefits have to
That
be
is very
great.
true.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Have like a bunch of like pinball machines in the break area. You know?
So many pinball machines in the break area.
Ping pong.
As
Ping
they're
pong.
prepping their mission, we get the scene with Rami Malek and Madeline and Till, where he tours them around Poison Island, and then takes
Really
the
weird,
Yeah,
awkward.
it's very strange. He kidnaps her daughter and separates them and sends her off to be killed by Cyclops. And apparently, this is where it kind of gets a little murky. I'm like, what are you doing
Yeah.
here?
What's the
What's
plan?
point here?
Yep.
What is the plan? You gonna raise
this
this kid?
This whole thing was weird. Of like,
Very
all
strange.
right,
agree.
he's been weirdly in love with Madeline his whole life,
Right.
which bunch of weird things on why he saved her and all that. Fine, fucking weird. And then he wants the kid because he
It's
wanted to have a kid. I don't know. That all of that was weird and seemed really forced.
Especially when you let the kid just run away at the
Yeah,
end
that
of
was
it.
weird.
Yep.
It really was just sort of like a means to an end. We got to get the kid back with the family, but how do we
Right.
do it? I just didn't love the way much of this was framed. This is like you mentioned probably the weaker part of the movie for you, Nick. I enjoy much of the action around
I did too.
this part, but I just really
Mhm.
don't like anything that's happening with Safin.
Safin. I think a lot of it could have been. I think a lot of this could have been condensed too. We spent a lot of time in this area. We go back and forth anyway. We do get a dope sequence now where Bond and 007 have to use a gravity plane. I think is what they called it, which I think was just a glider of some sort. But it had a cool gravity engine on the back of it that looked some sort of engine that was cool. We get that great sequence where he's like, have you ever flown one of these before? And she's like, nope. And then they just drop out of it, and it's really cool visuals. Of course, they use this all over the trailers.
I needed more. I needed more out of this ship. I needed to see
What?
what else it could do.
It was a boat,
They-
also, Andy.
Dude, that was so. It was a submarine, and as they
Yeah.
go in, what do they say? They're like, "We're gonna go to this pre-World War II sub pen," and it's
Yeah.
like, what a cool sentence.
Dope.
But like
Dope.
I feel like the setup of the technology and like this jet was setting up for like more is going to happen here, and then they
Mhm.
kind of land and they go underwater and they're out of it. It's like, oh man, I need to see more of this shit. Like I need
Yeah.
to. I need people
MGS1
to follow
intro.
them. Huh?
Did you get more MGS vibes from this? When the submarine
yes.
pulls up and they get out of it, I'm like, God, these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They love Kojima.
Absolutely. Of course, they get out, and he's got his cool watch, and she's got her cool Alexa Nest egg thing,
Watch.
and which sonar, and she puts it down. And we start a cool sequence here where they're sneaking around, killing people, doing all sorts of cool shit, double tapping people. She's cool, he's cool, and they finally catch up with Oberchef, who is. And he's like, "You can't kill me. I'm invincible or whatever." And then they're like, "What's going on? We're gonna blow this place up." And she's like, "We got to blow up this whole thing because that's a farm for the nanobites. I assume that's a nanobite farm. Is that what that was?" And they apparently are born in acid,
Nanomachines.
nanobite.
I don't-
Yeah, nanotech.
It was weird if they're born in acid or if they're just like uncontrolled there. So if you fall in, it kind of just starts breaking you down. That was
I don't know.
all very
It's
like,
weird.
hey, this is an evil layer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spooky, right?
Look dope as shit.
It
though.
looked dope as hell. Oh my god.
There is backstory here, though.
Ray
that
tracing.
This is Safin's dad's old place where when he worked for Spectre, he was the poison guy, and he was the one that worked on all the poison drugs and shit like that. So this was his old lair, which was cool. And I like that it had been sort of corrupted and co-opted by his son to be like a Zen garden now. But of course, they're above missile silos. It's kind of funny.
Question for you, Nick, as the James Bond guy. I know a lot of rumors going into this were that Safin was going to be Dr. No. I don't know shit about Dr. No. Is this kind of implying that his dad was Dr. No?
Ooh, no. I mean, that wouldn't work out in the revenge scheme because Dr. No was killed by Bond. But Dr. No did have an island, and I can't remember what his MacGuffin was though. I'd have to look that up because I've only seen Dr. No like once or twice. It was the very first Bond film, and it's very, 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 very rough around the edges if you don't like 1962 filmmaking. But I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't answer that. I'm sorry, but cool poll if it is. Um, of course, they're like, well, we have to blow this whole place up, and she's like, we don't have enough explosives for that, and he's like, they don't know that. He doesn't really threaten it ever, but then he's like, I gotta go. He's like, you hold this down. I'm gonna go up and find Madeline and Maddie and Matilda, and we're gonna figure this out. Goes up, of course, and who does he find? Oh, we get a scene where Cyclops gets blinded, and Madeline gets away. And then he goes up into the nest, and he's like, I'm just sitting here cross-legged, hanging out with your kid. And this is kind of the first time that we're kind of confirmed that it's his kid. We know it, but he's like, it's your daughter. And Bond's like, I know. And then Bond's like, I'm sorry. But he's not really sorry because he's got a Walther PPK in his belt, and he takes it out and he blows everyone away. But then Safin drops through a little compartment like a fucking, I mean, again, I'm not
Like
going
a
to
true
say
supervillain.
yeah, I'm not going to say the parallels between him and Dr. Evil are there, but there's a lot of them. Like people dropping through passages and stuff. So early Bond, so cool. And then Bond runs back. They get into it. 007 kills everyone. She kills Obervich. Sees someone drop into the acid. And we're like, okay, that stuff's super dangerous. Stay out of that. And then he's like, dude, we got to blow this place up. Great scene. She gets out with Lee Sedol's character, and the kid. They reunite. The kid was high. We get the random scene where he's like, she bites him, and he's like, fine, you don't want my protection? See you later, alligator. And it's like, why would you let her go? That's like leverage. That's like the one thing Bond cares about. Why would you let her go? I'm also not clear as to where they were going. Like, were they leaving the island? They talk about how there's boats. There's 2 boats coming for them. But I don't know who those boats are. Were they good people? Were they bad people? Were they the Japanese or the Russians? Like, this is a highly contested area, but I'm hazy as to what's going on here. So for a film that did like 90% great explaining what the hell is going on in a very simple way, this whole shit's murky. Like
Yeah.
they're like, it looks like they're leaving,
Yeah.
like, oh shit, we're under attack. But yet he doesn't leave. Why would you stay?
Well, I think that his plan was to leave and possibly take all the weaponized stuff that they had ready to go, because you get the idea that the 2 boats that are coming are his boats to start the transfer of moving these around.
So why not just
and-
get the heck out of there?
But eventually, Bond opens up the big doors.
Sure, but so here's my thing. But at this point, though, like Bond is there. So if you're a supervillain, you can infer that the entire English government and Secret Service knows this island exists. You can't move an island overnight, right? So your only choice is to get the hell out of there with whatever products you have off island and start over again. So get out of there. Like the second I saw Bond, I'd be like, oh, if Bond's here, MI6 knows about me, and they can nuke this island if they have to.
I didn't expect him to stick around.
Yeah, I don't know why he would stick around, other than maybe he just knows he was beat.
No, but I think that like there was like an end date. Like they were just trying to get to a certain point and then have enough of this drug to.
Yeah, but why bother? Then I mean, it just didn't work for me because he's like, I got to close these blast doors. I'm like, why? What is stopping them?
Because
from
it would
calling
destroy
the
all of the.
Yeah, but like logically,
MI6 is on the way anyway.
they're on the way. Yeah, like
No,
Japanese,
yeah.
if you call Japan and Russia and say there's this fucking massive thing here, they're gonna
Yeah, I
launch
guess you're
ships and they're
making a
gonna
lot of
be
sense,
on.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like the English government and the Japanese government don't talk. Maybe Russia might be a little bit more difficult, but at some point, more boats are showing up within the hour, right? So you
Part
gotta
of
get the
me
hell out of there.
always wants to sort of excuse these things. They're like, yeah, this could have just been a writing thing with COVID. Who knows? Like,
No, I
and it's
mean-
like,
Well,
no,
no,
it's
hey,
not.
No, actually, an interesting thing there. It's not necessarily because of COVID, but just with how this movie was made, and because of COVID, it gave them a little bit more
The
wiggle
virus
room.
stuff.
No. That the film was actually like the script was not done until way late in the editing process. They shot a bunch of stuff, and the director kind of had multiple visions of where the movie could go, and put it together in editing. Where it was like they kind of found the story, but they had a lot of plans and the skeletons all there. But there's certain things this kind of would make sense with that. Where I think this part's a little muddy because like you could tell. I bet that they were going back and forth on should James die or not. And I
Probably.
imagine that there's like enough things that they could have went through with a different storyline.
But like for me, a lot of these, I don't love. I'll be honest, I don't love the Bond movies that deal with the world-ending consequences, and I know that's the majority of Bond movies. But one of the things that I really liked about Casino Royale was that it was about uncovering this organization, right? It was a mystery. It was just about Bond trying to turn this one guy so that they could get more information on whatever the hell Quantum was, right? Which ended up being Spectre, because spoilers, Quantum was, I guess, too generic. I don't know. I liked that, right? It kind of grounded it a little more in reality. In this, they were like, we need a ticking clock going into the third act, or else there won't be any tension. What should that ticking clock be? Launch the missiles. Well, like, come on, you can't explode these missiles in air. Like, it was just a very weird moment where it's like you've got M and you've got Moneypenny back in the fucking bullpen being like, what's gonna happen? We don't know. And in reality, like, there is no real ticking clock in this. It's not like Remy Malek had his finger over the button and was like, when I press this button, everyone in America
virus goes
dies,
off.
right? The
Yeah.
virus goes off. We didn't have that. He was just, for all we know, the majority of the virus was sitting still in a place that could be easily destroyed with time, and then he was making his escape. So it was just kind of weird to me where I'm like, I know they're trying to make me feel that there's some urgency here, but I'm just not, like, I'm not really feeling it other than, and then we go into the really cool long shot, and I was like, fuck it, this is cool. I like this a lot.
The Cary Fukunaga special.
The special, right?
the
Which
one
worked out. There was a
shot.
couple cuts in it though. I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but for sure there was a couple.
There
cuts.
was one of the where the body gets close up to
Gets
the
popped,
camera.
yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's like
But it was cool.
when
I
you
like
know
that
it's
that's a strong
happening,
card.
it's happening.
Incredible, man.
It is like it's like pornography. You know it when you see it. You know when you're in the
See it
middle
every
of a Fukunaga special.
Hell yeah.
Fukunaga special. That's a badass way to call it. Of course, Bond heads up to the mission control area and he's like, Q, I got to open these blast doors or else these missiles are just going to bounce off. And by the way, they're cool
Really
missiles.
funny. Like,
And he's like, all right, it has to be
what a silly thing to say.
He's like, I know. I mean, it wouldn't. It would destroy this and probably make it really, really difficult to get back into it. At the very least, it would make it very hard to get back into this facility if you launched all those missiles at it. But again, that's another issue I have with it. I'm like, no, blast doors, sure. Concrete, sure. How about this? Fire 20 more missiles at this fucking thing. How about that? Fire all the missiles at this thing. You only fired like 4. Anyway, I lie. I digress. Funny moment here where Q's like, you have to open this up in a very specific manner, and Bond just starts going through all the things. He goes, got it. And Q's like, oh, all right, fuck me. They open. Bond's making his way out. It looks all good. At this point, 007 has saved his family and gotten them to a safe distance away. But of course, as he does, he gets shot. And Safin has come back for an unexplained reason. We assume just revenge. And he's like, I've got you now, Bond. Whatever. Bond snaps his arm off. But before he does, Safin manages to scratch his face with a little of that nanotech. And he's like, guess what, motherfucker? You can live, but you can never go near your lover or your daughter ever again without the threat of killing them. And it's possible that you might touch someone who might touch them and might touch someone else who will kill them. So you're dead with me. And I
That
warn.
fucking
He's like,
sucks so
and
bad.
he's like, and Bond's like, wait, what was your motivation this whole time? Was it just to beat me? He's like, why? Like, I thought you wanted to like what was the motivation here to make this technology? Are you trying for world domination? Because if so, why the fuck would you come back? Who cares? You could have killed her tomorrow. You could have killed me with this technology. You could have killed anyone anytime you want if you'd have just left the island, right? Like, you can kill anyone.
yeah.
This is the ultimate fucking weapon of mass destruction. But I digress. I guess it just turned out that he was just in love with her and pissed off that he couldn't have her the entire time. Anyway, so Bond just unceremoniously puts 4 fucking bullets right in his face as he walks away. Love that shot. Just pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
Right? Goes up
fuck
and then
you.
realizes what
Yeah.
has to be done. And he goes back up, opens the blast doors, walks up and gets asked to patch back into Matilda or Madeline and says, listen, I'm not going to make it. And he's like, I want you guys to go on. And she's like, wait, I just wish we had more time. And he says, we have all the time in the world. As the bombs not land, they get over the island and break off into 1,000 other little tiny missiles that just carpet bomb the entire island and take the entire thing out, including Bond, as we see that the blast just ripple into him and it all goes to white. And then we come back and we get a nice scene where all of Bond's team have poured him a drink in the middle of the table, and they poured themselves one as well. And M reads a very nice passage from, I forget the author, but it's basically like, hey, don't waste your life. Make your life mean something, even if it's a shorter life. I'd rather live a shorter life that's meaningful than a long life full of nothing. And Bond, of course, has done just that, and his death meant something. And they cheers, and then he says, now it's back to work. And then we get a great scene where Matilda and her daughter, James Bond's daughter, are driving again, mirroring that scene from the end of Her Majesty's Secret Service and the beginning of this movie as well, where they're driving in the old the old Aston Martin. And she says, I want to tell you a story about a man named Bond, James Bond.
Oh shit! Damn, that was
No
good.
Time to die.
So good.
Although we did miss, and Kevin confirmed though, at the end of the credits, it did say James Bond will return. So,
Hell yeah.
did it
love
say
it.
James Bond or did it say 007 will return? I would say James Bond. Okay, cool. Well, there you
Interesting.
go.
Interesting.
We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Very damn cool. Let's do a little thing I like to call haiku in review.
7 syllables in the middle. You'll need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review. Haiku in review.
You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny to write your review in haiku form, just like James Davis did. This one's kind of multi-parter here. Beautiful city. James Bond jumps off a cool bridge. Oh shit, are those sheep? If you were threatened, could you swallow a flash drive? Like a whole flash drive. Hey Q,
Again,
I hear
no
you.
need to swallow. You've got 2 orifices that can swallow.
Boof it,
Boof
everybody.
it.
Hey Q, I hear you. I just showed someone your watch. Really blew their mind.
That's awesome.
Ah,
That's a
great
great
moment.
part.
Overall
I thought he was
solid.
going to say it was very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overall solid.
Why
The
don't
ending
white
tugs
movies?
some heartstrings. I'll miss Daniel Craig. Amen. Dunhill, 1986. Not so positive on it. I held in a piss so I wouldn't fall asleep. At least it had an end. How this movie could bore you, I do not understand. Z-Pole says there's no time to die. Craig had his time and says bye. Now, time for Knives Out. Hell
Oh, wow.
yeah. And I can guarantee whenever Knives Out 2 comes out, we will do a Knives Out in review. Get hyped, everybody.
I've never seen part 1.
Oh, Andy, you're going to absolutely love it. Do you like Daniel Craig?
He's cool, yeah.
Do you like
Do you like
Southern
Ana de
accents?
Armas?
I thought you were saying, do you like Daniel Craig with a weird accent? Because I've heard he's got a weird accent.
Oh, yeah.
So
like
weird.
Southern, yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And then Grant Burton writes in saying, he's back yet again. Only he can save the world. Wait, is that Fox Die? The spy is a dad. He was a bit of a lad. The villain is bad. He used to be blonde. He goes above and beyond. The name's Bond. James Bond. Hell yeah, baby. That was
Very,
great,
very
Grant Burton.
good.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Ragu Bagu.
Bagu. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the final Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys here for the Bond in Review series until James Bond returns. That is right now. Number 1 on the list is Thiago Silva from Skyfall, or as Tim wrote, Skyfail. There you go. There, Tim. Le Chiffre from Casino Royale is number 2. Dominic Green from Quantum of Solace, and then of course Blofeld from Spectre rounding out the list. Where do we want to put Safin from No Time to Die?
Oof. It's rough. It's rough. I feel like he's the worst part of this movie.
Mhm.
He's still not that bad, but I would go number 3
Yeah,
because I think it's more interesting than Dominic Green from Quantum. But Le Chiffre was just cool in Casino, and I liked that
agree.
even though he was a bad guy, there was layers to him, and like you can kind of sympathize isn't the right word, but understand his motives. So
And also
I'd
he-
go
Also,
3.
great poker player.
Also, he
Yeah.
was whipping his ball sack with that whip. With that.
You're
Fat and
right.
dirty.
You're right.
Ew,
That was
dirty.
Crazy.
Damn, that sucks.
I would agree. I would say put him at 3. I think he's. I think the performance elevates it. Unfortunately, his motivations with material didn't really back that up. But I do think he's more compelling than Dominic Green and Blofeld from Spectre.
I agree. I agree with all that. Shout out to Bond for having a kid after all that testicle torture.
I mean,
Yeah,
hey
that's a
man,
good point.
maybe he froze some sperm. You don't know.
You don't
it's
know.
true.
You don't know. So
No,
me, Andy,
do
and
know.
Nick, we all say 3. Kev, I saw you were putting up a 2. Okay, Kev can't really talk right now because Fall's there. But anyways, there we go. The new rankings: number 1, Thiago Silva from Skyfall. Number 2, Le Chiffre from Casino Royale. Number 3, Safin from No Time to Die. Number 4, Dominic Green from Quantum of Solace. And number 5, Blofeld from Spectre. And now it's time to rank the James Bond movies. Currently, number 1, we have Skyfall. Number 2, Casino Royale. Number 3, Quantum of Solace. And number 4, Spectre. I'm going to start this off with Barrett Courtney, who is also doing votes in this series, who writes in and says, No Time to Die thoughts. I thought this was a solid end to Craig's run as Bond. The stakes were well set from the top, and the action was so damn fun and had me on the edge of my seat. The cinematography was excellent as well. The action sequence in the forest might be my favorite in all of his films. I loved Ana de Armas and wish we got more of her, and I think Lashana Lynch and Craig played off each other really well. While I think Malik played his role excellently, his introduction was so good. I think his motivations felt weak compared to the other villains. Everything felt well tied together in Spectre, and this final villain felt so disconnected from it all. While I don't know if I think Craig's death was completely earned and the movie sort of just ends on a weird note, I still really liked it overall. Also, Kojima or Konami about to sue somebody. With our current ranking, I would put it at number 2. under Skyfall.
This is number one with a bullet for me. Easy for me. Like it's not even close.
Evan Coelho also is emphatically, quietly saying number one.
Mouthing the word number one.
Yeah.
Kevin's saying number 5. Wow, that's crazy.
Wow. Nick Scarpino.
I definitely liked this more than Skyfall. I think it's a more complete film. The issue I'm having is I there's such a special place in my heart for Casino Royale. Just because it's just a special movie to me. It's not nearly as good as this movie. It's very much an action film, but I feel like I don't want to put it above Casino Royale. So I would put it at number 3, knowing fully well and fully supporting you guys putting it at number 1. I'm just going to put it down there because I love Casino Royale. It's kind of it's a special movie to me.
I think that's fair, Nick. I think that's fair because I think that unlike your Fast and Furious 1 and your Iron Man of all this started all, so you got to give it credit. Casino Royale is a very unique film, and there is nothing like it. Whereas with No Time to Die and Skyfall, there are things like it. We compare it emphatically to the Mission Impossible series and other things. So it's like there is that level where Casino Royale is a very special movie. Having said that, this is easily number 1 for me. No Time to Die, I think, is just consistently great throughout. I said it earlier, but even just doing this review, it makes me realize like I like this movie even more than I did when I walked out of the theater last night. Still some iffy stuff in that once they get to the island, but at the end of the day, I love it. It's goofy, it's silly, the island stuff, and it ends in a way that really it got me, made me tear up with the James Bond stuff, and that's really all you can ask for a film like this that is trying to wrap something up. It wrapped things up successfully, and in a world where these major franchises that we've kind of grown with, like we're in the era of franchises, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's never been before there was trilogies, but now it's just like there's decade-long adventures that we see with characters, and sometimes you get Endgame, and sometimes you get Rise of Skywalker. Sometimes you get the Game of Thrones ending. This isn't that. This is a definitive, amazing end to Daniel Craig's journey as James Bond. So number 1, which means the rankings now. Number 1, No Time to Die. Number 2, Skyfall. Number 3, Casino Royale. Number 4, Quantum of Solace. And number 5, Spectre. Like I said earlier, we will return next week with Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, featuring the one and only Kyle Richards. And also, Nick, never forget, Denise Richards, also a Bond girl. So there you go.
There you go. Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Connection.
I'm not even gonna say it.
Yeah, don't even say
leave it alone.
anything. Don't say anything. But anyways, I love you all. Thanks for joining us with this. And a lot of people didn't even know that we did James Bond in review because we've had a lot of new fans join us over the last couple years during our work from home days. So please go check out all of our in review series. We've done countless franchises at this point. Like, it is kind of insane to look at the programming sheet that I have. Hold on, give me 1 sec. I want to get the number here because it blew my mind earlier looking at this, that we have recorded 273 episodes of in review. 273.
Are we really? Jesus Louises. That's why
Damn.
half of those are Pixar movies.
Yeah, straight up. You love to see it. Until next time, love you guys. Bye.